Good morning to all the students. While we're waiting for our setup to complete, I would request each of them to rename their screen names to their Manthan registration number. That will help us with the attendance as well. So I would request each of your screen names to change to your Manthan registration number. That will help us identify who all are here and who all have attended the program. Kindly
Good morning to all the students. While we're waiting for our setup to complete, I would request each of them to rename their screen names to their Manthan registration number. That will help us with the attendance as well. I would request each of your screen names to change to your Manthan registration number. That will help us identify who all are here and who all have attended the program. Good morning to all the students. While we're waiting for our setup to complete, I would request each of them to rename their screen names to the registration number. It will help us with the attendance as well. I would request each of your screen names to change to a Manthan registration number. That will help us identify who all are here and who all have attended the program. Good morning to all the students. While we're waiting for our setup to complete, I would request each of them to rename their screen names to the registration number. It will help us with the attendance as well.
Why it's been repeating the speech? Okay, it's good. I think 3, 4. Okay, I know. The renaming. That no problem. The renaming all the numbers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pranam. I'm part of the core committee in the Manthan committee. I would like to first welcome all of you to the program for the deep dive knowledge workshop. This is the first knowledge workshop, and I would like to first introduce. I would like to call upon the president of FKCCI, Dr. C.A.I.S. Prasad, to give his welcome and opening remarks. So over to you, sir.
Very good morning to all of you. At the outset, on behalf of FKCCI and Manthan team, I would like to congratulate all the 212 teams who have been selected by 41 jury members for second round. It's really very heartening to note that all of you have been going forward to see that you'll be in the grand finale. And I also compliment Chairman Abhishek and his entire team. And today, the deep dive knowledge workshop been aimed at a very important thing for all the 212 teams to understand what is business analytics and also marketing and sales projections and tips for preparing the 2 minutes pitch in the second round. So I'm sure that the resource persons and serial entrepreneurs, Vishwanath BR, co-founder Proximate Care, and Usha Nagaras, consultant strategic planning, and our own Chinmay Anand, financial educator, business story, and the chairman dynamic Abhishek with his observations will deliberate, and each of the participants should take very keen interest and understand. And if you have any clarifications, even smallest, and this is going to be a very, very important session for you, because if you have to move forward to this to 75 the teams, and from there to 20 teams is very important, like your examination. And please spare your time and understand and show your keen involvement by interacting with all the resource persons. And again, I would like to extend warm welcome to the today's great resource persons, apart from the chairman. I extend warm welcome to B.R. Vishnath, co-founder, Proximate Care and Credit Private Limited, Mrs. Usha Nagaras, the consultant strategic planning and financial management, trainer and mentor, Chinmay Anand, financial educator, business storyteller, international speaker, and automation, and all the participants and the mentors been going to support the teams to make dream in reality. So for the information of all the 12 teams, we increase the prize money from 20 lakhs to 26 lakhs. So that's going to be your small seed money for yourself. And also, as informed, the next thing is that Udan and Atal Incubation Center will log in at the time of 75 and make sure that each one of you eligible to get the seed money for your capital. Further, yesterday I received the information from Sanjeev, the Karnataka Digital Economic Mission, that actually once you've been successful in here, the government will also come forward to fund you for all your projects. And bankers also been assured that each of the teams will be certainly entertained by the support. So this is what the FKCCI, the 14th edition, can offer you. So it's for you to take the advantage, and it's a resource person to make the dream and see that my vision and dream to make them at least few unicorns next year will be fulfilled. So with this, I think extend warm welcome and wish you all the best for the deliberations. Thank you once again, and Abhishek, a great job, you and your team. Thanks to all the jury members supported FKCCI. Thank you.
Thank you, President, for the...
And Pranam also. Pranam, today moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President. So thank you, President, for the opening remarks and welcome note. Before I move further to the to call upon the chairman of the Manthan program, I would like to stress once again to make sure you update your names along with the registration number. I think this will be very helpful for us, and also to make sure we track your attendance as well. So now I would like to call upon the chairman of the Manthan program, Mr. B.A. Abhishek. Please come and give your Manthan remarks.
Abhishek, I'll take leave of him. I'll join you tomorrow. Okay, bye.
Thank you, President. Good morning, everybody online, all the students, a very warm welcome. Hope we are audible here. Before I could give my opening remarks, I would like to thank all the students, all the 625 participants, all the 625 teams for having participated in this year's Manthan 2022. I would also like to thank all the institutions and mentors who have been instrumental in making Manthan 22 a success till date. Also like to thank the entire Manthan team, the core committee, as well as the jury, knowledge team, as well as the outreach team. From about 6 months ago when we started this project till date, we have done a tremendous job. Thank you to the entire Manthan committee. I thank Shubha ma'am, who's here, who has devised and planned the entire workshops for each one of you guys. So what I would like to say is the next 3 days, today, tomorrow, and hopefully day after, we are going to have a set of series deep dive workshops. When we say deep dive, it means that we are going to go in depth. The first set of workshops that we had was giving you an overview. And in these workshops, we are going to give you the in-depth knowledge of each of those topics that were covered in the first few workshops. And the main advantage I would like each of the registered team to take out of these are going to help you with your presentation.
Abhishek, sorry, you're on mute. Abhishek, sorry, you're on mute. I think someone accidentally hit all mute, I suppose.
All right. So where did
Audible
you?
now.
Yeah.
It was just last 20 seconds.
Last 20 seconds. All right. Okay. So let me just reiterate. These deep dive workshops are beneficial to each of the 212 teams who are selected for round 2. You would need to attend these workshops. It is definitely beneficial for all the teams so that this can help you with the presentations in round 2. Round 2 of the jury would be starting on the 1st of July for about 2 weeks. So tentatively, the plan is from the 1st of July to the 15th of July, we will be evaluating each of the business plans where all the teams would have to present their business plans online. In the next couple of days, today, tomorrow, and day after, the speakers would be helping you with how to present, what all to keep in mind while making these presentations, what all to topics and what all to be included in your business plan. So whatever you have submitted, you have a chance to update it, modify it, change it based on the learnings from these sessions in the next 3 days. So I would request all the students to involve yourself. Any questions, clarifications, we will be having a Q&A at the end of each session, as well as a half an hour at the end of day 2. Tomorrow, by end of day 2, we will be having about another half an hour Q&A, where each of the students can make notes, jot down their questions, and all of them will be answered. So kindly request all the students to patiently give a hearing to the speakers, and this would help you with your presentations. Thank you once again to all the teams. Happy workshops.
Thank you, Abhishek, for your Manthan remarks. Before I move further, I would like to thank the jury and Radhakrishna, and also the team who have come here, and also would like to thank the president for initiating the deep dive workshop. So before I move further, I would like to call upon Mr. Vishwanath BR, and the Vishwanath BR will be sharing about the business analytics of the program, and he'll share more information on the entire structure. Thank you.
Good morning, all the people who are viewing this podcast. And okay, before the presentation starts, first of all, I must congratulate for all the efforts that you have put. It has been quite a time since that initial announcement and now, and if you still have the energy, I think probably you already passed the test of business entrepreneurship. What is required is the tenacity to do the job in business. And I think probably if you are continuing in this journey, that means you have already done the work, half done almost. Now is to continue the tenacity till the end and then achieve something out of it. So I may request somebody to put the presentation on. Okay. My next point, which is there, is see, the topic given is actually business analysis. So I would focus the framework of what is required for your presentation. It does not carry the entire gamut of what is a business analysis all about. Business analysis per se would mean what is the business all about. Again, I would emphasize idea is different from business. Lot of people will have ideas to do business, but does not translate into a business idea. It is your effort, your intelligence, and your luck a little bit makes that change to an idea to a business idea. So we are talking about business idea here. It is not generally any idea that can be converted to a business. First, everybody has to make that difference. Then only we can move into what is our analysis all about. So analysis about business is basically, first of all, you have to understand the context here is a business plan presentation. Okay, I'm while you already started sharing or okay, good. So I'll reboot myself after a brief thing. So dear participant, welcome to Manthan 2022. As I've already indicated, it has been a great journey till now. And I assure you that if you continue doing this well, your journey would be better and better by each day. Okay. Now we will start with what is a component of a business plan, because that's what your job is all about here, to win a prize and also to start a business. So the component of a business plan is what I need to explain, to whom I should be talking, who was the target audience, and everybody should know to whom I should present, what to present, a lot of things. So fundamentally, when you start thinking of a business plan, the initial thought is that of a clutter. Similarly, I too have as a presenter a lot of clutter in my mind, because too much to say is too little time. We have 1 hour and there's a lot of things to say. Explain business PP or business plan in what perspective? These 2 keywords you have to underline and maybe Google a little bit. Strategic business planning and tactical business planning. Please Google this, understand what is strategic business planning and what is tactical business planning, and your presentation should have a mixture of these 2 things.
Finally, what is the takeaway of this is also as important as these things. So I will be finishing as soon as in 2 parts, and I'll be taking questions. Now here what we start is a part 1 of it. The resolution for your conflict and my conflict of mind is having the clear objectives. You should filter out everything as the image depicts, and you should cluster everything into a small bit and see what is that I want to achieve. That should be the objective. A business plan should necessarily have a clear objective of why the business is done. A business is done, is it for a social purpose, or is it for optimizing a profit, or both, or something that has to be very, very, very clear. Otherwise, you keep vacillating between what decision to be taken. You will have a lot of people coming in your way of life, explaining you do this, you do that, all those kind of things. But to filter the good from the bad, you need your objectives to be very clear. So to start with that, imposing ourselves, takeaway for a participant is, first of all, you will take away a lot of good experience in participating over here. Whether you start a business or not, which we all hope that you would start, we firmly request you also to start. But even for some reason, if you're not starting, the experience of Manthan itself is this. The second thing is, how does the business world looks like? Each of you may not come from a business family or a business background, but you will be exposed towards what kind of business decisions are taken. This is a clear takeaway for all the participants. So as I've indicated, we have 2 sessions in this. One from Manthan perspective, there is only the framework is limited to what is going to be you are going to do for the next presentation you are going to do, as our chairman of the Manthan committee explained, that you have to do online presentation. The second thing is, along with this, what is that you are going to get as a startup or whatever it is. So the component of the business plan, BP means business plan. So the background info is, yes, we all at Manthan understand that you are in college, pursuing academics, blah, 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 blah. So we cannot expect you to be having a very rigorous knowledge and rigorous thing, all those kind of things. So FKCCI would want all of you to pursue in the journey of various compulsions. So you may not become entrepreneurs right away. But our objective at FKCCI is, someday or the other, you have to become an entrepreneur and make the $5 trillion business economy as a true dream of the country in the near future. So coming to the presentation aspect in the next round, what is that is, first of all, you have to present your idea. Again, I repeat, idea should be a clear business idea. Is your idea a product or a service? That you have to be very specific. Number third thing is, what is the problem it is solving? Any analysis of business is basically, it is done in lieu of somebody's effort. Instead of you growing all the food grains, vegetables, everything you are doing, you are buying, you are getting into a business of somebody because he has done the effort on behalf of you. So for that, you pay him extra, or you pay the resultant value for that. So it has to solve a problem. It cannot just exit as it is. It is not charity. Second thing is, everybody thinks business means there has to be innovation. It need not be. As long as there is some novelty in it, it is good enough. Please make a differentiation whether there is a innovation or novelty. And mind you, both is not compulsory. A trader may not have neither innovation nor novelty, but can still be a very successful businessman. So what is your background and ability to convert this idea into a product or service? When you make the presentation, you indicate that you have this skill to make this happen. Then everybody will understand. The reason for this is, we have to differentiate between people who have taken the idea from the internet or people who have genuinely have the idea. So beware, jury too will have an access to the internet. They will be seeing what you have already seen. So when you express what is your background, that gives credibility to your idea. So now coming to the preparation steps. So now the first step is I have this idea, I have to convert that into business or an opportunity. So why your idea is a business idea, you have to say. So I will generate power. I will generate power in a chemical way, can be an idea. But is that a business idea? Is it viable or not is a question. So when you are presenting this, there is a need to form a segment of people who can pay for it. That means your idea should be able to reach somebody, and that in the product, in the form of a product or in the form of a service. I repeat, your idea can be both product or a service, and somebody should be ready to pay for it. Not they will use it and then pay or something like that. Understanding the customer's need about the product, why your customer or your people who identified need your product or service. That understanding has to be very clear with you when you say, I have a business idea. If you just present the idea, it is not business idea. You should put your customer into focus. I repeat, customer into focus, then make the presentation. So when you say that, what all you should cover is, you should say how the customer is going to use. Is he going to use it by buying it? Is he going to use it by renting it? Or is just simply going to use the service as it is? How often would they want it? They buy once in a month, repetitive purchases, non-repetitive purchases. And third thing is, what is the general profile of the customer? When I say profile of a customer, it includes demographic, it includes their income, group and all those kind of things. Why all these things are required? Because we call a market fit of an idea. Does your idea fit to what type of market? See, I hope almost all of you would have seen a vegetable vendor buying certain things in a wholesale market and bringing it closer to your house. If he is selling in a middle class area, he buys a different set of vegetables. He orders things in a different way. If he is selling in a poorer class area, then he orders it a different way. When he sells it in a very posh area, then he arranges in a different way. That means his products are presented or packaged differently for different segments. Similarly, you should know how to present your product to your customer. One single shrink wrap product to all may not be a successful business idea. So please mention what is the profile of the customer. The mistake people do is, sir, I'm going to sell it to everybody. Please don't have an idea in the beginning. Don't present fully scaled up business models. Present only how your idea is ready for a business. That is the critical thing. Don't start with, oh, I have a whole of India as a market. I have whole of world as a market. I have this export potential. I have this, all those kind of things. Prove your idea in one segment. Then you can move it or march past and bulldoze the entire market as it is. So it's very clear. Second thing is where you operate, which area you operate in, which business environment you are going to operate with, how the current need of the customer is addressed. If it is solving a problem, how the existing customers are getting their problem solved. For example, if you are putting last few years back, we had a vegetable cart which was having a cooler in it, so which could keep the vegetables fresh. So the problem he was trying to solve is not reach of the vegetables. He was solving a problem where vegetables which are not fresh when it reached their homes. So he wanted to keep it fresh. So like that, you have to address what is the current need and how it is solved. Are there any competitors? Please mention your analysis or your knowledge about your competitors. You don't put all the numbers. At least you say few of the competitors that I have seen. That shows that your rigor in your planning. What is the size of the business opportunity? It does not mean you are going to occupy the whole business size. What is the opportunity size and how much you are occupying? What is the opportunity available for you to scale up? That gives the idea. Then the last one, what are the compliance requirements? You should always understand when it comes to business environment, there's a legal framework for it. So what are the compliance required? If you are starting a factory, everybody thinks of a factory building. but it also requires a pollution control board compliance. And so many such things which are there, which forms part of quality and legal. For example, in medical devices, there are a lot of quality compliances required. It could be an ISO, it could be CE, it could be FDA or something like that. So similarly, if you are in engineering electrical, again CE marking is required. So a lot of compliance with respect to quality is separate, compliance with respect to legality is separate. Please understand as much as possible. Next slide. So preparation, next step is what is required to convert the idea into business. This is called as resource requirement. It is not resource planning. Please make a difference. It is resource requirement. In that you have technical resources, raw material resources, manufacturing resources, manpower resources, selling and distribution resources. So first identify what resources are required. When it comes to planning, that is in the next stage, the second presentation, you say how you are going to get it. First identify these are all the things. Your quality of presentation comes where you are complete in your resource requirement. Sir, this I will think about it when I come to it, is not the planning portion. Some basic plan you should show how the resources can be sourced. Most important, where every startup fail, which in my experience is, they don't plan for a team. They plan for money and money alone first. More often than not, they fail because they are not able to garner a good team to execute the plans. So in the beginning, first and foremost, plan how your team and what the role they are going to play. Because when we ask each of your 4 members, if you are coming 3 members, even what is your role, everybody will say the same thing, technical or this or that. So if everybody is technical, then who will take care of marketing and purchase? Who will take care of finance? Ensure if you are not having also, you say, this is the plan we have to make the team to work. Most important is team building. That is what you need to say. Similarly, what is expected in your presentation is a very clear SWOT. That is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. So I think the slide is self-explanatory. So you can have a look at it. Please have a 1 or 2 slide of the SWOT when you make the presentation. Because then we know that you are aware of your weakness, you are aware of your threats. You need not have a solution for that, but at least as long as you are aware, that is the good part of it. The next step, you should be able to present 5 top reasons why it is going to be successful, or 5 reasons why it need not be successful. When you are aware that what can cause failure, you can take measures, you can take steps to avoid it or to circumvent the problems. So don't always think. Okay, I will take a small detour from here. Somebody was asking some time back, sir, what is the difference between a good manager and a good businessman? I didn't want to give a textbook answer. So I thought for a second, then I thought, it's a good question. Then I said, managers are always working 80% of their time, they put to avoid failures. And 20% of the time is towards success. A successful business is exactly opposite. He will put only 20% of his time to avoid failures, but 80% of his time and energy to make it successful. If you think slowly, you will understand the difference. There's a huge difference in the two. So ensure that most of your time goes into positive thinking of how to make your business successful. Don't spend too much of time how to avoid failures, because you cannot stop it. The problems and difficulties do come at any random time. As long as you have good enough resources to make it successful, your success is guaranteed. So I'll go back to the next slide. The tips for your presentation. This may be the last slide for the first part A. Many winners in the past were not fluent in English. You can use Kannada or any generic other languages as well. Telugu, Tamil, any language of your choice, as long as you are clear. That is what is important. Don't worry about the language, worry about the content. But only request is, let the presentation be in English. But when you present the content, you can choose your language. We will try to get the help from any translators to understand. Your presentation need not be jazzy. Don't spend too much of time to create a big background, animations and all those things. Need not be. I am not saying it should not be not required at all. Don't spend time on the presentation aspect. Spend more time on the content. Be sure on your technical requirements in the phase 1. Show that how your product is really viable. Half the time we have found in the past, when we ask questions as a jury, they were not very sure about the technical requirements. Next step is focus on the point. It is not an idea presentation competition, but a business plan presentation. That means if you are having 15 slides, don't put 13 slides on the idea. Your idea should be only 2. Then the business aspect has to be there. It is a business idea presentation. I have seen a lot of people will take 5 or 10 slides to explain their product. So don't make that error in your presentation. Have a business plan, not a product idea presentation about your idea. Last and most these is make sure convey while you are explaining your jury that you have done your hard work. Because what we look at least instead of all the things is your sincerity in your attempt. But if we find it to be not so sincere, if you not put real hard work, maybe some few critical points can be lost. So this is end of part A. That is what is expected of you. Exactly now. I'll ask this question now. So shall we proceed for some FA questions that if you are going to ask? And if you can, that can be projected on the screen. I'll be trying to answer this. See, I have not covered the business analysis part now. I have only covered what you should put in the presentation. What should be your placeholders. The next topic is what all you can put into it, all those kind of things. Up till then, if you have any questions, I would like to. So if you can raise your hand and or else you can post it on the chat box also.
So if any of the participants have any questions with whatever has been presented by Mr. Vishwanath till now, you have the next 2 minutes to either raise your hand on the Zoom session or post the question in the chat window. We'll give you another minute or 2. If there are no raise of hands or questions on the chat, we will proceed to part B of Vishwanath sir's presentation. You have another minute.
My thing need not be so good that everybody's doubt is already clear. There has to be some questions at least.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask a doubt?
Yeah, sure. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. So, am I audible?
Very clear. Can you just identify yourself, please, first?
Yes, this is Shreyas. Manthan register number is 506.
Go ahead, Shreyas.
Okay, sir. So the question I wanted to ask is, in the presentation which you told, should we add the MVP or the prototype of the app so the jury members will have the clear picture about it?
As long as your prototype explanation does not take too many slides. If you
okay, sir.
Prototype, you can demonstrate it instead of putting presentation. But don't assume too much. See, it has to be you. If your app can prove the business value, use that. The choice is yours. But ensure that you're not spending too much time on your idea.
Okay, sir.
I mean, that is a tip I'm giving. It is not necessarily that it is a compulsion, but it's a tip.
Okay, sir. Okay. And the thing is, like, if we have a product like our app, we can put the screenshots of the apps, right, in the presentation so that we can show how it works actually.
Of your demonstration, screenshot, and then present it for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That would actually help to understand your product better or faster.
Yes, sir.
And that will also stop people asking technical questions because you would have solved it already.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Important is taking a feedback from user before implementing your BP. Okay, that is a question from whom? 568. Okay. How? Okay. There is one from applicant 568. He's asking how important is taking a feedback from user before implementing your business plan. See, feedback from your thing is, there are two feedbacks. One is the feedback about your product and feedback about where you are doing business. Feedback your product will always be coming. Your business will not change by changing a product feature or benefit. So you don't have to wait till he gives the feedback. As long as you know that the business exists, then it's fine. You can go ahead and make plan. You don't have to finalize the product. I think probably in my next session, I'm going to answer your question in more in detail. So there are 3 stages of how it is. So in that analysis, you'll be able to understand that. Sir, you explained you required to mention both 5 top success and top failure in your plan. This is no, I'm not saying it's required, it is better. So it is not mandatory to say 5 top reasons for failure, 5 top reasons for success, all those kind of things. But if you have understood that, it conveys that you have understood your business and you are able to present it well in your own way. That was the thing. This is Deepti here, registration number 631. Who can see your messages? I will get you on this. First one on the top, if you have started working on a business plan and GST is approved for a business, should we include that in the presentation? I don't think that would give any value in terms of your judgment. It is a, if you, for GST, the people who are granting you GST will not check whether your product is ready, whether it's product based or not. It is a process of giving you a number which you can use it. So having a GST, having a company registered, all those things does not give value in the present when you are making a judgment of your business plan. That will give you a judgment that you are serious about it. All those things is good, but the weightage of it may not be much. That is up to the jury.
But you can present it. Just ask them if they want, they can mention.
Yeah, if you want, you can mention it. I mean, that's up to them. But that will consume more time. Yeah.
I'd like to add, one question was about 5 successes and 5 failures. You can add it in your SWOT analysis. The strengths you can put as your 5 success that you're looking at, and your failures you can look at as the option for your weaknesses which you are trying to plug in when you are making your plan. So you don't, it doesn't have to strictly follow the format of 5 successes and 5 weaknesses. You can build it into your SWOT analysis slide and talk about it a little bit if you wish.
Mr. Ravindra Patil, sir, can you provide PPT? I don't know what you are asking from us.
Template where it just simply takes and fill it up. No.
There is no template here. So the first step was to guide you with a template in round 1. Whereas round 2, we have already given you a template, but now whatever training that we are giving you in the next 3 days, use that to your benefit and mold your presentation. There is not going to be any template. Just ensure that whatever was covered in round 1, you make it a little more better, or you can change it based on the learnings from the next 2 days. But there will not be a template. Or are you asking, do you want this present PPT which Mr. Vishwanath is sharing? Maybe we can share those presentations. Yeah. So once the sessions are over, if your question is if we can share these presentations that we are using, the speakers are using, we definitely can share those presentations once the sessions are over. Yes, that can be shared.
Yes, that is what I want. I want those presentation PPTs, sir.
Yeah. We will share the presentations to you once the sessions are over.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
And another question is, on a service, what would be a prototype? Mr. Vismaya.
Oh, Mr. Vismaya, okay, whatever. See, service, the prototype is how the service is delivered. It is not what the service you are giving. In any service context, for example, what is the prototype of, say I come from a healthcare background, I can tell you if there's a service. We see how the service is delivered, how a patient care is delivered. the workflow itself is a prototype. Each hospital or each organization will have different workflows. So when you define that workflow, that's how it is done. For example, you can take airline booking, or you can railway ticket booking. In the past, the railway ticketing was you always have to stand in the queue and then book a ticket. Today, you can book it as you move around. As far as the last month is concerned, you can even book a ticket as you board the train. So that is a service. The workflow of that is what gives the prototype. So somebody can check the workflow and see whether it is working, not working, is how the service is defined, is all about. I think we'll move on to the...
Yeah, and there were two more questions by Reela, I guess, or Rita. Sir, can we add cost analysis to our B plan presentation? And registration 311, is there any limit on slides?
There's a limit on time. As long as you manage the time, I don't think there's a limit on slides.
If you are able to make a cost analysis, adding it is welcome, but it's not essential. But some cost breakup is of course indicative and necessary. A detailed analysis at this stage, if you are able to make it, well and good. But if you are not, then don't stress out, but give the breakup of all the costs, components of the cost, so that you are having and the jury can have some idea of what it is going to be like.
Okay, a clue on this is actually I've given on my third slide. The tactical business plan, the strategic business plan. When you make a tactical business plan, is ensuring how the plan is successful, what are the activities. That is not deciding about what is the corporate policy, what is your company decisions, all those kind of things. So that portion of what is the cost and all those kind of things. But if you say, I would like to limit my cost to this percentage of my overall cost, like for example, my material cost would be so much, my labor would be so much, my overhead should be so much, would at that juncture itself was a good idea. But don't take it out from your hat and put it. Do some analysis and then put the plug in the numbers there, putting those numbers. Because a lot of things people will get confused and start always arriving at profit first and the cost next. It will not really happen. And I am telling you this because you are young and very enthusiastic. The first mistake you make is you show a bloated profit. So avoid all those kind of things is my suggestion. Okay, I would like to go to the next part where I go to the meat of the business plan. And the caveat I want to give, the warning I want to give here is the next portion of the business plan is about a real world business plan. You may include all of it or any of it, but this is how we go about doing it in a real business sense. Why isn't going next? Next slide.
Just to add to what Usha ma'am said with regard to the number of slides. So the number of slides is not what we are looking at, but the time. So on an average, each team will get about 10 minutes to present their business plan in round 2. So what I would request each of the teams is to make your presentation, but while you're presenting, ensure that you keep track of time. So just practice such that the entire presentation can be presented in front of the jury in maximum of 10 minutes. Post 10 minutes, we will be having about 1 or 2 minutes of Q&A between the jury and the team presenting the business plan. So just to give you an idea, it will be 10 plus 2, 10 minutes for each team to present the business plan and about 2 minutes for question answer. So ideally about 10-12 slides should help, but I will leave it to each team whether you want 15 slides, 20 slides or 5 slides.
Okay, coming back to the part B of the session. This I have already indicated. Again, I'm going to reiterate. This is for the residual value of attending this seminar. So this is going to give you the rigor of the business plan. So the first and foremost is business plan is quite a rigorous activity. When I say rigorous, you have to put in hours and hours of thinking, effort, and all those kind of things. Its preparation is highly iterative. That means you don't sit and do one time plan and say this is the end. It keeps changing. It keeps evolving as you move forward. Second thing is it gets highly technical at times. I say technicality in the sense because if you are raising funds or going to maybe an angel investor, something like that, then it may need to answer from their perspective. So the questions and all those kind of things which you need to include that in your presentation could be a little technical. When I say technical, it is not necessarily engineering, it is technical. It needs a lot of data and one needs to look into from many perspectives. Don't simply do one level of analysis, superficial analysis, and start doing business plan. So that is very, very, very keen on this. Excuse me, next slide. So we will come to the primordial question, why a business plan? Business plan is prepared for two reasons. One is external. For internal, I think the slide is self-explanatory, and I hope that when the slides reaches you will be able to see to it. So I'll go to the next slide part of it. There are several types of business plans. I, for one, would have prepared for a single business at least 6 or 7 types of business plan. So business plan types are based on end users. Who is going to use that? Internal business plan is for the managers and the next level people thinking, so that they know exactly what to execute when. Second thing, business plans for the stakeholders and the initial investors. They know why they are investing and how much they can invest. So they have a different format of a business plan. Business plan for venture capital is to show that how scalable the business is and how the team is capable of doing the scaling. So each type of business plan are different. Note the presentation differs to each user and it is not the same. That is the key part of it. Again, I'm telling you, this is not to be included. Don't mix it up with the plan or presentation you are going to do it. This you are understanding what is the business plan per se. Please don't get confused. You keep always this in mind when you're going to the slides. What are the general content? Somebody is asking for a format or something like that. Here is a generic thing. Product description, business description. There is a difference between a product description and business description. If you think for a few seconds, you will be able to make out the difference. Then market analysis, in the sense, how this need is being met currently in the market, who are all is supplying it, all those kind of things. One is the market at size at large, and then the other one is how you are going to make that happen. The third one is next is the marketing and sales strategies, staffing and operations, funding requirement, exit plan for investors, and appendix. These are the generic things. You may at this juncture need not include the exit plan and the appendix and also the fund requirement at this juncture. If you focus up to that point is good enough. How to start preparing? Of course, I'll start with my favorite. I will always go with a single framework. The problem with many people do is they approach many different type of mentors. Each mentor would have a different framework. So they will take something good from one mentor, something good from another mentor, mix it up. So the decisions are always confused. They are confused, all those kind of things. Always stick to one framework. Okay. My framework of business planning or business plan planning, my preparation is that I always look at what stage that I need to do and how I have to do business activity at each stages. So generally the framework which I use will have 3 stages in which I have to make the business activity. One is called the technical readiness level, what we call as TRL, where I know I am having all the technical capability to make the product. I am not worried whether it is manufacturable or not, but at least I'm sure that the product can be converted and it can be put to use. This goes beyond POC. It is not this. In the technical readiness level, you have to get into some ideas which will come to the next framework. Then you have manufacturing readiness. So if you go to Wikipedia, I'll get more details about it. Then there's a market readiness. See, a lot of people will have technical abilities, but they may not have the manufacturing ability. If I want to say 40% of the Indian products don't see the day of light because their ideas are good, their POCs are good, but they don't have a real manufacturing plan. That is where it fails. So you need to start with that as soon as you start thinking about your business. If you are manufacturing something, another 40% of the people fail because they don't know. Because number first thing what they do is, when they come to the level of market manufacturing, they have exhausted all the money they already have. So they don't spend enough on marketing and other kind of things, and their business goes fat. So you need to be having a conscious thing of how you spend your resources on all three levels. So technical resource level, these are the standards, of course. You can fix it up to wherever it is. So first question that you have to ask yourself is, what is the level of technicality required? The first and foremost, everything people talk about is patents. Don't confuse technicality with patenting. Patenting is a part of your product ability to perform. It is not the product per se. So how, because you see so many products which are competitive in business. So nobody is infringing on somebody else's patent. For example, I'll give you X-ray machines, or I will give you motorcycles. So you'll find so many motorcycle manufacturers, so many car manufacturers, but nobody has infringed upon other people's patent. So that is different. But having a technical capability to make that is the first thing. So arrive at a critical technology element, what we call minimum viable product. Ensure that you are doing that. In this level, my suggestion is, don't add too many features to your product. As long as it is serving the purpose, go and start marketing. Look at your competitor, just be about a little bit about that. Don't spend too much of time and money building one feature of the other. This I have explained in my previous lecture on the MANTHAN-2022 itself. Then comes MRL, manufacturing readiness. Manufacturing readiness, where people fail is, they don't know where to find the resources. Either the manufacturing resources or raw materials or whatever, where to manufacture, all those kind of things. The second thing is repetitiveness of what is being manufactured. If you are having service, design a service in such a way that it can be repeatedly performed. Business is all about repeatedly without failures. That is all about it. So some of the decisions you have to say is, where is a make or buy? How do you source the raw materials? What is the cost models you are going to take it? What is the quality management? All those kind of things. Okay, one caveat here is, don't get overwhelmed by all of these things. But some of this you have to think about it. It need not be in this framework, but they will give you a pointer, as we call it, into what you need to think all about it. Then comes the market readiness. Which MRL is your product or service? Is it just a hunch that you will be successful? You already done some basic research. What are the needs of the thing have you formulated? So like that, there are several stages. If you are in an ideation stage, it will be 0, 1, 2, 3. So next, 4 and 5 is another stage. 6 and 7 is another stage. 8 or 9 another stage. So identify what stage you are in and then try to answer those things for yourself. So now let me take a simple example and then put all these three things into perspective. Supposing I want to manufacture a phone, mobile phone. So now the question is, market exists? Yes, huge market exists. So from a market research perspective, we don't have to do too much, because all that you want to know is, there are 3 types of phone users. One phone per se, which is a smartphone which does a lot of activities. The other phone is called a feature phone. These are the 2 segments. Among the smartphones, it's instead of looking at so many apps, just see what is going to perform. One is the quality of voice and the speed at which it interacts with the internet. So what people generally do is, they go to a manufacturer who is having all the technologies, they give the requirements and they will start. It's a make or buy decision, is always buy, brand it yourself and then spend more on marketing. The second example I would like to give over here is the other way thing. For example, you are trying to develop what is called as a BLDC fan. Today, that is a fad in the market. So again, there you need to know where to source the BLDC fan motors, how to house it, what kind of things are required. So you see, again, when you do a competition analysis, you will get to know somebody is having different shades of blades, different types of blades, noiseless blades, and blade which changes colors, or the other one blade is which is anti-static, it doesn't take it. So some of those features you have to decide upon and then start going about it. That is where your product is going to come, because when you design which something which is anti-static, that is having a different stature, that is having a different product properties. So identify what is the properties of the product you want. Based on that, you decide what is going to be your cost and all those kind of things. Of these three things, before or after, in between, at all the stages, is a permeative feasibility. Here comes the finances and budgets, fund allocation, planning for break even, everything. So what is that when you do a business plan is, once you are market ready or up to that point, then you see at what level this business becomes feasible. Because we had somebody who said about 5 years back or 3 years back, he says, my business requires 150 crores to start with itself. So we asked him, where is the resource? He says, I'm yet to find. So it has now reached at the level of the idea itself. It has not become a business. So that means he is not organized in such a way that with whatever resources he has got, he can come up with that. So ensure, see, even Elon Musk has to do some business first, sell it off, and then come to his core business of electric EV and all those kind of things. So he knows that what is required very clearly to be successful. So you have to bring in the framework of feasibility at every point of time. Number one, budgets. If you are going to make each one of it, say for example, when you start making a POC, set up a budget for that. Don't spend 40% of all your resources for POC and say, I am business ready. No. Because in next 60%, you can't do a manufacturing setup, you can't do marketing, all those kind of things. So always ensure only doing minimum viable product with minimum amount of money to showcase, yes, I can do this product. Then people will have a belief in you. That is what I'm talking about, fund allocation. If you have 100 rupees, how much money you are putting in all of this? I have seen 70 to 80% of the startups put a lot of money on the technicality, manufacturing, all those kind of things, and they have spent very minimum in marketing. And they have a very good product, but no business. Because they don't have more money to go out and really do the marketing activities. So do the fund allocation properly. The next plan is planning for break-even period. How long does it take for you to reach where your costs and your revenues are going to match? This is very, very critical. If people who are going to invest in you, or you are going to ask money from your father, relatives, friends, or whatever it is, most important is don't use somebody else's money to make your business success or failure. Assume that you always have to repay them and then make the business. So planning for break-even period is very critical. So even your presentation may not be now, at least down the line, you should always be having a knowledge about all these kind of things, which I'm sure you're going to learn in the next few lectures. All of these will be covered in the future workshop that we are going to see in the next 5 or 6 sessions we are going to see. So now I'm going to come back to the next Q&A on all these technicalities of business presentations. So like the previous session, you can always ask me a few questions. And this session, this Q&A would be for nearly 7 or 8 minutes. So you can ask as many questions as possible. See, the only thing is, please restrict it to the session. Don't ask questions beyond the session. The end of the day tomorrow, you ask generic questions. Now you put it to the specific to this session.
Thank you for the sharing the slides on the business analytics. I would go through the questions now. Okay, so from Vignesh has asked, sir, shall you send the PPT, sir, for our reference, sir?
That is already been answered. Yes,
Yes.
we are going to sending it.
Okay.
We will either upload it online or we will collate all the presentations and share it as an email to all the students.
Okay, then we have register number 505. He's asked the question, sir, could you elaborate more on the break-even period?
Okay, see, there's something called as break-even point. It is that instance of time you don't make profit or loss. That's called as break-even. When I say break-even period, you have to understand, are you going to take 1 year to reach there? Are you going to take 2 years? Are you going to take 6 months to reach there? Or you always start with your business with a profit? So that is very, very critical. The reason for that is there is a concept called funding the loss. It is you don't spend money, you don't need cash only to start the business. If you incur loss, somebody has to bear that. So you have to understand that every time you make a loss, it is going to hit on your capital. If you require 100 rupees to start a business and it will take 20 rupees more as a loss, you need to have 120 rupees to make the business happen. So ensure that if your break-even period is long, I'll tell you an example. Break-even period of e-commerce businesses is very large. Today, if you look at it, people from Flipkart or other kind of things, they are yet to make profits. Even similarly, fintech, certain fintech businesses, Paytms or other kind of things are taking a very long period. So they have kept on rising millions of dollars to fund it. Similarly, EdTech, education tech, there the break-even period is larger. So your consumption of money is not for the product, is not for marketing, but to sustain till it reaches a level of break-even. So that is what I mean break-even period. I hope I understood the question.
Thank you, sir. Moving to the next question. Kushankur, register number 463 has asked, so what are the points we should consider for technical aspects of our business plan?
Okay, when I don't, you mean to say engineering aspect of your business plan is the question. Technical, as I said, no, even marketing is a technical subject. It contains a lot of technical things, something like that. So when I assume it to be an engineering aspect, if you are not from engineering background, you just explain how the product functions. You don't have to share the entire engineering diagram and all those things around that. The only question is the proof that it can work. That is sufficient.
So the next one we have is 642 Preeti Malli. Happy morning, sir. Can you explain about BEP and finance? So I think probably she's asking break-even point here.
I think it'll be covered in the next session or future sessions.
So Preeti, in the next session we'll cover about tomorrow's session will cover both BEP and the finance. Okay. The next question is registration number 130 is asked. So at the ideation stage, what all topics should we have clarity on?
Okay, that's a very good and important question. If you are in ideation stage, you should know that the market exists. You need not know at what cost is going to work and all those kind of things. Is your idea marketable and somebody is going to willing to pay for it? Use it is different. Ensure somebody is willing to pay for it. Till such point of time, it is in the ideation stage.
So for now, we don't have much questions on the chat. So team, I would request you to, okay, so I would request you to unmute if you have any questions and go ahead and share your questions. Registration number 319 has asked one question right now. Good morning, sir. Having larger breakpoint on an advantage or a disadvantage for beginners like us?
I don't know what is his business to give an answer, sorry. See, I don't know what do you mean by larger break-even point? It's going to take more time to reach that point, because break-even point is a single point where at that instance of time, you are neither making profit or loss. But to reach to that, supposing you are saying going to take more time from starting the business. See, if you have a customer base in millions and they are repetitive buyers, then it does not matter when you reach break-even point. As long as you're one step ahead of your customers. Say, for example, Amazon, Flipkart, or any such large businesses, unicorns, they don't bother about profitability because they know their product has got repetitive buyers, because it's mostly a subscription or pay-per-use products. In such cases, longer break-even time taken for break-even is okay. But otherwise, if people are funding you for a manufacturing or something like that, they would like to have a break-even point at 40% of your capacity. I mean, that's a ballpark or an indicative thing. Supposing you have a capacity to produce 100 units, you should break even when you start manufacturing 40 numbers.
Okay, thank you, sir. In the chat, we have not received anything. I would like to open it in the forum. Now, anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself and then go ahead and ask your questions.
It's 11:38. We'll give ourselves another 2 minutes, 11:40. And if there are no more questions, we will have the next speaker come on stage and present. Participants have 2 more minutes. I guess there's another question.
So we have received one more question from team 59. Good morning, FKCCI and team. It is important to also keep in account the future funding expectations while making a plan, or only one-time funding should be taken for current business plan.
Don't make you should always think that fund is required, but don't show how the fund is raised. If you are successful up to that point, then that fund will come automatically. The question is what you have promised the existing investors, either bank or this anybody regularly, and you have met that. Next level is automatically going to happen. But if you don't keep up the promise now itself and then have a plan to raise, say, another 5 times or 4x the current rise, it is meaningless. Just say I may need more money is fine. But how do you get that more money? Because when you raise the next fund, if you are going in for some kind of a startup funding, the next rise could be even take off to or a repayment of the existing users also, existing investors. So the money required is not necessarily for the business, but also to buy the existing investors. So there are a lot of such things involved in it. At this juncture, I don't think you need to worry about those things.
Okay, we have one more question. So Redmi Note 7S has mentioned that I would request you to please update your registration number or the team name. This would help us with the attendance part. His question or his or her question is, sir, have you elaborate and gave some tips to how we explain our project attractive to others?
If you know your product well, I'm sure in my experience, you'll be able to speak about it better. So rehearse as much as possible more about your product and how it is beneficial, not from your perspective, from a customer perspective. I'll give an example. So in 2018, 17 or 18 Manthan, the team which got the first prize, they did not explain about the product in too much of detail, but actually they carried the product in a bus and explained that how the product is useful from a customer perspective. So it was actually recharging a mobile by putting like a coin box. But the value that it created, that they explained the entire product by its usage, that is more important than explaining the whole product by technicality. So even if I say it has got 12 volts battery, 18 volts battery, 100 volts battery, so many age, all those things is not going to serve much of purpose. Yes, that is required. But how a customer is going to use, that's what makes it interesting. So you should always create a customer or somebody in mind, and then from that perspective, okay, this was the problem he was having, or this was the problem she was having, and using my product or service, this is how it was solved. And this is how her current pain is alleviated.
So for now, we have not received any further questions. So we'll just give another 1 minute and then probably we can wrap the session.
While the questions are coming, I would like to best of luck for all the future presentations, all those kind of things. So as I would reiterate, please don't bother about the language that you use. Please ensure that you have confidence in your idea. Don't try to add too many gimmicks into your presentation and then flounder. The only thing that we ask you is be confident, be simple, and explain clearly what is your product and how that is a clear business idea. Stage 1, that is good enough. You need not become an expert in finance, expert in marketing, expert in everything. We understand that you are all college people. Our expectation from you is not at a high level, but our expectation of you is understand what has been presented, use that in some sense or the other, make use of it. That would give us an indication that you are very serious about it. So I reckon that there aren't any more questions. So I will leave it to the convener to do the stage part. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. And I thank FKCCI for giving me this opportunity. And I've been a participant with Manthan for quite some of time. Every year, it has been an enthusiastic experience for me. And I assure you that you too will have the same feeling. Thanks. Thanks all.
Thank you, Vishwanath sir, for sharing your thoughts and helping the students with regard to the business analysis and also helping them prepare the slides. So this session would help them to prepare and be more vocal when they come in front of the investors and in front of the Manthan jury team. Now I would like to call upon Usha Nagraj, who will be explaining more about the marketing and the sales projection. Usha Nagraj has been a consultant of strategic planning and financial management. She's been a trainer and has been my mentor as well. She has been part of the FKCCI Manthan for quite some time. So I would like to call upon her. Madam, over to you. Yeah, sure.
All the participants who are online, so we are planning for the second round of jury from the 1st of July to the 13th of July. So basically, yeah, each of the teams should have their business plans ready by the 1st of July, number one. Number two, I just want each of the teams, if they have any specific exam schedules in or other schedules during this block of 1st to 13th, if only those students who have specific exam schedules, if they can inform us their exam schedules, we will plan their business plan presentation accordingly so that they don't have to clash with their exam schedules. For the others, you leave it to us. We will kind of give you a slot between the 1st to the 13th. But for only the participants who have their exams, if you could send us your exam schedules, we will plan your online presentation at a time convenient for you as well as our jury members. So I would request each of you to send an email to manthan@fkcci.in. manthan@fkcci.in for whichever teams/participants are having exams between the 1st and 13th July. The rest, don't worry, we will plan the schedule and we will give you your schedule for your presentation. But all the teams should be ready with their updated presentations in the next week. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Glad to meet you all.
Good morning, ma'am.
Congratulations to all those who have come to this round.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. You've heard Mr. Vishwanath talk about the business plan and business analytics. I'm going to take off from where he stopped and talk about, in a very, very simple way, about what is most important for you, and that is the market. There are 4 components to the business. Basically, they are the technical feasibility, which is your product and its capability for becoming a product, the ideation and into a technical product. The second is the market feasibility, who is going to buy the product and how you're going to make it into a business. The third is the production and the manufacturing or service, whatever that you're going to offer. And the fourth is the financial feasibility. Basically, these are the 4 components of the business. And for doing this, the infrastructure, the team, the social relevance, all this is what you're going to see. I'm going to start with the very, very basics. That is, what is a business? If you are going to answer that question, the business is the process of converting some product. Next slide, please. Converting a product into a sales. That means you are going to reach a product or a service to somebody for a financial consideration.
That means there is an exchange of money, cash, or any other consideration. And this is the process of business. And this is how you distinguish a business from a hobby. The ideation, if it is not converted to a product which can reach to a customer, then that product remains as an idea and it cannot become a business. So to ensure that it becomes a business, that transaction of a sale transaction has to happen. And what is the sale transaction? The sale transaction underlines the fact that there is a need for a product. If somebody perceives a need, then that person is going to want your product. Otherwise, no matter how great your product is, you're not going to be able to sell it. You're not going to be, that person is not going to give you a consideration or money or any benefit for acquiring that product. For example, let me tell you a very, very small story. The fact, to start with, there is assuming that there is a demand. The demand means there is a general demand. You perceive that people need this product, and that is why you have ideated this product, and you're trying to convert an idea into a workable product or a service which can be delivered to somebody for a price. And that price you're assuming is going to be something more than what you have acquired it, or what you have spent on it, so that there is some amount of profit generated from the sale of that particular product. But the fact that there is a demand for the product doesn't mean that there is a need for the product. The fact that there is a demand for the product doesn't mean that somebody is going to buy your product. Let me give you an example. There is a demand for pizzas, right? Everybody knows. Now, if you set up a manufacturing facility for pizza, maybe a restaurant or a cafe, you don't know that the people are going to buy your pizza, because there may be the need for pizza is different from the demand for pizza. The person buying it may be vegetarian, so he may want a vegetarian pizza. There may be some certain sections of people who may want a non-vegetarian pizza. And within the vegetarian pizza, there may be somebody who will want only a margarita, only cheese and tomato. There may be somebody who wants with mushrooms, somebody who wants with olives, somebody with capsicum. So you have a subgroup of the need of the person who wants the particular product. So though there is a general demand, huge demand for pizza, within that demand, you have to crystallize into what is the need for that particular item. And so also you may have a non-vegetarian category where somebody wants a chicken pizza. So you have your entire demand, which is a macro system, broken into a micro system of smaller identification of what your customer really wants. And if you are able to give what the customer wants, then your sales becomes easy, because the customer will be very ready to come to you rather than you're having to go and market. But this identification of the micro process is the most important part of the identification of the market and demand and need. To come back, I'll tell you a very, very simple example, which I'm very fond of sharing often because it sticks in people's minds. And this is the story about one lady in Bombay. She was a war widow, and she was allotted, as those 20 years ago, gas agency was very, very difficult to acquire, and she was allotted a gas agency. Now, this was a very, very big thing, because at that time there used to be huge queues for gas cylinders, and even to get and acquire a gas cylinder was so difficult. When one gas cylinder finished, you had to wait for several days, use a kerosene stove before you could get the next. So she was very, very happy, and she said, oh, okay, I mean, I lost my husband, but then having got this from the government, maybe now my life is made. I will open a small shop and start supplying gas cylinders to everybody in the colony. She opened it. In the first month, she found that she could sell only 2 cylinders. Now everybody knows that it was a huge big colony. The demand is obvious. Everybody uses gas. They need to cook. And it was, it was obvious that there was a huge demand for gas cylinders, but it was very, very puzzling to her as to why nobody came forward to buy only 2 cylinders in the whole month. Now, why could that be? Would anybody like to answer? Quickly. Do you have a question option or a chat option? You can unmute and ask a question quickly if you like. Okay, I'll go on. Well, she went round and she wanted to find out. So she went round the colony asking, why is it that nobody was willing to buy from me? And while everybody expressed that they were willing to support her, the strange reason was that while all of them wanted gas, more than 95% of the people in that business, in that building apartment complex, the women were all going to work. They used to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning and come back only by 6 o'clock in the evening. So the only 2 people who bought from her were housewives who stayed back. They were not working. She talked to some people and then she decided to change her model, and she started opening her gas agency from 5 in the evening to 10 at night. And she found that all the women who were coming back from work at 6 o'clock in the evening would stop by near her shop and say, I need the gas. So she quickly engaged a boy to go and deliver the gas, who bought a TVS moped in those days with the adaptation to deliver gas cylinders. And within the next month, she found that her sales had jumped to 383. This is a live example. I'm quoting this only to help you remember in your mind that while there is a huge demand for a product, it doesn't necessarily translate into sales. To translate a demand into sales, the micro has to be understood. And there are 4 components: whether the product is okay, whether the service is okay, whether the price is okay, and whether the quality is okay. And it's only when all these 4 are reaching to the customer satisfaction, then your product sales starts happening by itself. So from 383, the next month, her product sales jumped to 575. And then onwards, after that, it became an easy journey for her. But that to make that switch from a morning shop to an evening shop, she had to really find out why people were not buying. And that is the process of need assessment. So while we do a demand analysis, we do a market study to find out a demand, we have to do a need analysis to do sales. And the need analysis has to be to find out who is going to be the customer, who is going to buy it. Next slide, please. So to give you 1 or 2 more examples, when people started selling salt, they used to sell wholesale, crystal salt. Then it became dirty, so people no longer wanted it. They started wanting it, so the packaged salt started. So simple product like salt, the packaging started. Then it had to be cleaned. So clean crystal salt. Then people wanted it ready to use. So it became powdered salt. Then people discovered that you need iodine for yourself, for your thyroid. So it became iodized salt. So as the need changes, then the product avatar changes to meet the need of the customer. And so you have today crystal salt, clean crystal salt in packets. You get pink salt, you get white salt, You get non-iodized salt, you get iodized salt, you get powder salt, and the whole range of it. So within a product, you have sub-products catering to various needs. And when you are thinking of at the ideation stage and going to the product, you have to be very clear that somebody is ready to buy your product. Next slide, please. And so we come to the market segments. So there, these have been spoken about. So I'm just briefly trying to reiterate and help you remember that what are the things that you need to look at when you're trying to do the marketing. And that is the macro market gives you the overall demand. It could be an international market, it could be a national market, it could be a state level market, or it could be just a local niche market. In the niche market, you are trying to see who are the customers, how many people are there ready to buy it. And there you are going to evaluate who are going to be your customers. And if you have identified in terms of price, in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, and in terms of packaging, then you are able to be very clear. Let me give you one more example. There was a company which manufactured spices and spice powder. Now, this is a very common usage, and you know that there is a demand for it. And they were a well-known brand. They got into it, and they started marketing in Gujarat to start with. And in Gujarat, the people, the way they buy, they don't buy small quantities, they buy large quantities. So they started making 1 kg, 2 kg packs, half kg packets. So the packaging was large. The sales took off very well. They wanted to launch it in another state. They launched it in another city, which was in a coastal city. 2 cities, one was in Bombay and one was in a southern state, which was in Kerala. And they found, to their surprise, that the product didn't move at all. They were stuck with a huge quantity of 1 kg, 2 kg packs of chili powder, coriander powder, jeera powder, masalas, and so on. And again, they had to go back to the drawing board to find out what was wrong. Why was their product, which was so popular, not moving at all? Because they had introduced it in 2 states. One is in Gujarat and one, I think maybe Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, I'm not sure, one of the states. And it was moving so well. Now, suddenly, when they introduced it in Kerala and in Mysore and in Bombay, Maharashtra, why was it not moving? And then they had to do a customer analysis. And they found that when they, in these coastal areas, the moisture content is so high that when people buy large packets, the fungus grows on it. So people don't want to buy large packets, they want to buy smaller packets. So they had to repack it in smaller packets, 100 gram, 200 gram, 500 gram packets, and start selling. Just for these states, the packaging had to be made differently. And they had to pack huge quantities. When you get packets, you can't get packaging in small numbers. They again had to redo their packaging and then start selling. Why I'm mentioning this to you is the same product will not go in the same way to different classes of people. What goes in one place may not. So you cannot have a standardized packet or package, except maybe like an app that you are doing. All of you watch the cricket match, you would have seen how they sell the apps, the Cred app maybe, or any other app that you are doing. So if those of you who are manufacturing apps, you may have a standard product. But those of you who are manufacturing product, then you would definitely need to tailor the product to your customer. So you have 2-3 variations of it. Okay. That's how you determine the product mix based on how it is going to be taken. And then translating the marketing strategy into a marketing plan. What is the marketing strategy? Marketing is the process of creating an awareness about your product. I just now mentioned to you about Cred. Cred was an app which some people developed, and it is used for, as they say, to pay your credit card bills. Now it is a new process. Everybody has been paying credit card bills, but they want it easier and easier. So this company is trying to make it easier for people to pay the credit card bills. Instead of using a UPI platform, they're trying to tell you, use the Cred platform, use the Cred app to pay. Now, this process of marketing is the process of creating awareness about your company and about your product. To let people know that, yes, I have a product to sell and I have a product that you may want. So to go back, what did we say? Sales will happen when there is a need. So what does marketing do? Marketing is to help you create a need, to help you say that, yes, I want that product. There are few people, like if you're ordering an Alexa, you want the convenience of sitting and say, Alexa, please play my music. Then you want that convenience. So Alexa came in. Like that, you want the convenience of sitting in your comfort and paying a credit card bill without going onto a laptop. Then your Cred app will work through a smartphone. So you want to make life easier and easier, the facility. So you are developing newer and newer and newer products, which would help you get into the sales system. And what is the process of marketing? The process of marketing is to help you understand and create a need. So all advertisements are directed towards creating a need. Even if it is water, water is a basic necessity. But you have seen the Kent RO ad and you have seen Aquaguard. What are they trying to do? You have seen Bisleri ad and you have seen the other water ad. What are they trying to do? They're trying to tell you that, okay, the water that you get from the public is not clean. So we are giving you hygienic, clean water, filtered water. We're giving you, instead of filtered water, we are giving you the filter itself. So some people are giving filtered water, some people are giving the filter itself to enable you to filter. And so you are creating. So somebody else says, oh, why should I buy the public water and use it? And instead, let me get clean water. So the need has been created within the customer, and the process of marketing using different media, whether it is advertising through the print media, through the visual media, through TV, or through any other brochures or pamphlets, word of mouth, whichever way you want to do, you are helping to create a need. And from the macro market, you are trying to bring it down to the micro market so that each customer can say. And this is what all the TV ads do. There is a general need for TV, for a better and better TV, or even for a better and better phone. The basic purpose of the original phone was a communication. But today, what does it do? It is so versatile. People wanted more and more facility. Can I use the phone to see people? So you have the video. Can it have only audio? Only the audio. Can I use it to send messages? So you have the WhatsApp which came in. Can it take photos? So the selfie rage came along. So the phone became a versatile. And within the phone, how many brands you have? You have the Apple, you have Samsung, you have the MI, you have the cheaper lower end brands, you have the higher end brands, you have the high-tech brands which do the iPhones, which do all kinds of, which have all kinds of features. So it depends. It's just like a small ballpoint pen. You have a ballpoint pen which is a throwaway, which you can get 10 for 100 rupees. Or you also have a Mont Blanc pen, which costs maybe some 60,000, 70,000. So there is a need, there is an ego need of people to show a Mont Blanc pen. So there is a company which caters only to that need. Parker pen, Mont Blanc pen, like that. There are some, whereas for some people it is use and throw. It is very functional. So you have the ordinary ball pens, which you get 10 for 100 rupees and you can use and throw. So you have a range of products. And within that range, then you will decide where you are going to fit in. Are you going to do the high range? Are you going to do the low range, or the entire range that you are going to do? And so you arrive slowly, depending on which area you're going to cater to. Is it only in Bangalore, or only in Tamil Nadu, or only in Kerala, or only the all of the southern states? What is the quality of the customer, or the characteristics of the customer? What is the price range at which they will buy? Knowing all this and going deeper and deeper, like I said, the micro, once you go in there, then you are able to decide on your customer, and from the customer you arrive at your product mix. If to go back to the pizza example, you may say, okay, 30% of my vegetarian customers will take a margherita pizza. So out of 100, 30 pizzas will be margherita. Maybe 40 pizzas will be special pizzas, so 70. Another 30 pizzas will be vegetarian, non-vegetarian, which are chicken pizzas with variations. So your broad product mix is 30, 40, 30. So within the overall range of 100 pizzas that you do, the toppings on the pizzas differentiates your pizzas, and you get your product mix A, B, C. A is the vegetarian margherita, B, which is the special vegetarian, which is 40%, and C, which is the non-veg pizza, which is the another 30%. And so your pricing for each of it becomes different. And if you have done your analysis, you find that this is the way your products are working. Otherwise, when you are actually producing it in a restaurant, you would find that you produce some 60 chicken pizzas and 30 are left behind, and you're short of pizzas for the vegetarian. So the mix doesn't. There is some kind of a mismatch between your requirement and your production. And when that happens, then there is bound to be a business loss. So all your actions that you are going to take are involved at trying to minimize this business loss. You can't avoid it. It does happen all the time, but you are trying to minimize. And this can happen with the process of better and better planning. Next slide, please. Determining the pricing strategy. We were just before that, pricing. So determining the pricing strategy, this again has to evolve from the market. If you price, there are two ways. One, you can work out your cost, what it is going to be. Somebody was asking in the earlier session about the costing and the pricing. You, based on all the costs that you are going to incur, you arrive at a certain price. But you also have to know whether that price is what is going to be happening in the market. Is the market ready to absorb at that price? So you have to go back to the customer and understand what is it that is happening. What is the customer willing to pay for your particular product? If you are doing freebie sales, giving it free, then there is no doubt that you're not going to make a profit at all. And if you're going to underprice your product, then you're going to have orders, but you will not have a profit. If you overprice the product, then your product may not move. So arriving at the right pricing decision is important for you to ensure that there is a continuity of sales. Because when you're in a business, it's not just the first sale that matters. You have to ensure that there is going to be a repetitive sales. The customer wants to come back to you to keep buying. And that is the more important thing that is going to happen. So is there a repeat sales? If there isn't, why is there no repeat sales? Is the product again and again, the reiteration process has to go on. You go back to the drawing board and you keep looking at, is the product wrong? Is the product itself wrong? Is it something that they don't want? Is the pricing wrong? Is it too high? The Oneida TV, that is how it went out of the market. It was overpriced, and when the Samsung and the LGs and the other TVs came along, Oneida got completely wiped out and nobody was willing to buy. So they had to stop the TV production. So though it was a very good TV, the model was very, very good, technically very sound. People were very good. You remember, I don't know, those of you who remember that with the devil used to come and they would advertise. It was a very good product, no doubt, but it got completely wiped out. So the fact that your product is good doesn't necessarily translate into a sale. LG and Samsung came and completely took over the market. So the pricing becomes very, very important, and the pricing emanates from the customer, what they are ready to pay. There are customers who are ready to pay a lakh for a Rolex watch, but there are also customers who buy 100 rupees in your Burma Bazaar or on the street, ordinary watches which just show the time. So what the customer is going to be willing to pay, and that is the kind of customer that you're going to choose for your market. If you are making a Rolex watch and trying to sell it to a customer who wants it at 100, it's not going to work. And if you are selling an ordinary cheap watch and you're into multi numbers and you're trying to reach to a higher section of society, then that also is not going to work. So you have what are called the niche markets, and thus the pricing for the product becomes very, very important. So in the sales projection, which now forms the basis for all your entire business plan, I would say that the sales projections forms really the bottom line. That is going to be the basis on which you're going to base the entire project. Once you have the sales, the sales plan, you have your product A, product B, product C. I've just taken an example. And you have the price of each particular product. You have the quantity of each product that you're going to sell. And so the multiplying the two, you get the sales value of each product. And that is going to be your sales turnover per month or per year that you can decide in the first year, second year, third year. This is something that has emanated from the market. Just because you have a product. No, it doesn't matter. I have it. So just because you have the product which is very, very good, doesn't, as I said repeatedly, doesn't translate necessarily into sales. So having identified a need, having identified that there are customers for it, you have now arrived at a sales plan. And this sales plan forms the basis for your business. Because based on this sales plan, if you're planning to sell 100 products, you know that you have to produce 120, maybe 10 wastage or not of adequate quality, and 10 to keep in stock. So your production plan gets decided based on your sales plan. So 120, if it is going to be your production plan, then you know to produce 120 products per month, what are the equipment that you are going to need? For that equipment, what is the infrastructure that you are going to need? What is the labor that you need? What is the power that you need? What is the water that you need? And what is the number of people that you need? Administrative to take care of all these things that are going on, the power, the water, the office, the factory, and the marketing. And how many people have to do marketing to ensure that 120 gets sold every month? And not just 120 gets sold every month, but next month that it can go to maybe 150 or 200, that there is a constant increase that is happening in your sales so that the business can grow profitably. And to enable this infrastructure, then your production plan gets automatically decided based on what your sales plan is. Your labor requirement gets decided based on this. Your infrastructure can get decided based on this. Your marketing team can get decided based on this. And your financial plan can be worked out based on this. And this sort of helps you decide all your other, we spoke about the 4 plans, the technical feasibility, which if you have your product and the product is technically capable of being manufactured to the requirements of the consumer, you have the technical feasibility, then you have your marketing plan, you have your production plan, and you have your financial plan. So the sales projections based on the customer inputs and the work that you have done to identify the need and the pricing and the quality and the distribution, based on all this, your sales plan forms the basis for your business plan. Because just remember the way we started out, the business is the process of transaction. There has to be a sale. It could be a cash sale, it could be a credit sale, or it could be an advance sale. But the sale is the bottom line of a business. That is what distinguishes something from being a hobby. A hobby, you do it for an aesthetic requirement, but a sale happens for a business for generating a profit. And when you're using consumption of various items like people, labor, power, water, and all these other items, then the dharma of the business is that it has to make a profit. If not today, very shortly. Somebody was asking about the break even. It is rarely that businesses make break even in the first few months. I've seen businesses where the break even is much later. So when you are making your financial projections based on the sales plans, it's quite all right to show a loss in the first year, as long as you show how you are going to cope up with that loss. Manufacturing companies, invariably, second year, they make a break even or a marginal profit or a marginal loss. And by the third year, they start making a profit. So you have to be willing to wait and recoup your losses or profits. And it's okay to show it like that, as long as you know how your financial plan is going to work out. So let me quickly go to the summary. I've tried to put it together so that if you follow the steps, the numbers 1 to 20, you can, in your mind, you can go through the process of understanding. The sales transaction is the main function of a business. For sales to happen, there must be a need. If there is a need, perforce there is a demand. Identify the demand and the need for your product, the area, the location, the price, the quantity, and the quality. I can't stress enough on this, because even after you have started production and sales, if you find that your sales is not moving high or it is not happening properly, you can always go back and find out, is the product not okay? Is the price not okay? Is the distribution not okay? Is the service not okay? Or is the timing not okay? Remember the gas and the pizza stories and find out which is it that you need to tweak, to change around, so that your sales can start happening. Do you have to improve the quality? Do you have to improve the distribution? Do you have to create awareness? Do you have to increase or lower the prices? Do you have to offer better service? What is it that you need to do? Do you have to change the packaging from 1 kg, 2 kg packs to 100 gram packs? What is it that you need to do to ensure that your sales can happen on a continuous basis, on an upgoing scale? It has to be an upward incline. Constantly, if it has to increase, this has to keep on happening. And the process is a dynamic process. It doesn't stop with one. The market keeps changing, it keeps fluctuating. So as and when the market fluctuates and as it changes, you have to keep making your adaptations and keep making your changes, so that you are with the market or one step ahead of the market, and you can constantly ensure that your sales is on an uprising, on an upward inclination, rather than going, plateauing steps and going up. It happens like that sometimes, but you try to, as far as possible, keep it on an upward inclination. Identify if you are offering a product or service to satisfy your interest to the market need. Once the demand has been identified, then start identifying the location, quantity, and price at which you can sell. Then you find the prevailing terms of sale of your prospective customer. Is it a cash sale? Is he going to give you cash? Is he going to give you advance? Are you going to take money and then give your product? Or is it going to be a credit sale? If it is to a retailer, then normally the terms are you give the product and he will say, I will pay you after 45 days, I will pay you after 90 days, I will pay you after 1.5, after 2 months. So they have different terms of credit. So you have to find out what is the terms of credit that are going around in the market, and you will have to adapt to those terms of credit. What percentage of the market are you going to cater to? This is something that you need to identify. If there are 100 customers who are likely to be interested in your product, are you going to say that I'm going to sell 100 products? Unlikely. We don't say 100% all of them will buy it. By the time you sell the product, people change their mind. So when you are estimating your sales, normally you estimate 20 to 25% of the market as your customers that you can capture for your particular product. So if there are in your locality 100 people who will buy pizzas, you can say 25% of them will buy your pizza. Maybe some more will buy a Domino's, some will buy a Pizza Hut, some will buy something else. So overall, there is, even within a pizzas, there will be different types of people wanting different types. Just like some people will want a coffee day coffee, some will want a Maiya's coffee, some will want Starbucks, some will want Costas. So even within the coffee range, you have different people wanting different. Some people want an espresso, a latte, or a filter coffee. So you have different people's needs within the overall demand of coffee. Coffee, there is a demand for coffee, but within that, you have people having sub-requirements. And in the sub-requirements, you estimate that your sales will be 25%, which can grow a little more. If you estimate 100% in the first year, and all of them don't want your particular product, then next year there is nothing for you to grow to unless the market grows. So take that 25% of the market as your first year's requirement. And at that particular point, you see whether you're breaking even or not. And if you're not breaking even and the market is not enough for you, then you have to look at whether you have to go to a different district or a different city to increase your market segment, and find out how can your customers increase so that you can reach break even at the lowest. And then when you increase your market segment and you move to a different city or a different town or a different area of operation, then your marketing team has to increase. So automatically your costs go up. So the reiteration process of doing your costing happens. So when you do your sales projection and your income, then you come to your expenses, and the difference between the two is going to give you your profit or your loss. So this is how, what percent of the market are you going to cater to, and then you arrive at your sales projection. If it is low, then you must improve your company area of operation to create awareness about the product. So then you have to decide that whether you need to do advertising. And what kind of advertising that you need to do. If the market that you have chosen 10% or 25% is not enough to give you break even, and you find that you need 30% market, then you are going to try to capture that 30% by doing advertising. And what do you advertise? Do you do posters? Do you do billboards? Do you do pamphlets in the newspaper? Do you do a video? Do you do radio ads? What is it that you do? Do you do marketing strategies? So your marketing strategy comes about to create your marketing plan. And what is your marketing strategy? Do you offer buy one, get one free? Do you get, like Cred says, if you use my app, you will get cash back? Or do you, like all the other, do you get gift points and bonus points? Do you get when you're using various facilities and e-commerce platforms? What is it that you do? So your marketing strategy depends on your marketing plan. And you have to create a budget for that, which again adds on to your income and adds on to your expense schedule. And then this again, so your sales there you have fixed to some extent, and your expenses now incur are slowly, you're getting a clearer idea of what the expenses are going to be. Then once we have the market strategy, the market demand will help you in determining the product mix. And based on the competition and the costing, you have to determine the price at which you are going to sell the product. Then thus the sales projections form the basis for all your other decisions. Your production plan, your infrastructure, your staffing, your labor expenses, and all your other etc. This is going to help in building your income and expense statement and deriving your profitability. Remember that repeat orders must happen. If not, the following will need to be examined. Go back to the drawing board again. If your repeat orders are not happening, why is it not happening? Is it the price constraint? Is it the quality? Is it the delivery? Is it the packaging? Keep going back to it. And if those are right, then automatically the sales must happen. This is a dynamic and ongoing process. So this is about the market and using this as the basis for creating your business plan. You have the technical feasibility, which has already been covered. You have the production or your production or the manufacturing plan based on your sales. You have the infrastructure requirements, and you have the marketing plan, which consists of your sales plan, your marketing demand plan, and your strategy plan. And then you create a team which is going to help you implement this. And then you have your financial feasibility, where when you work out all the expenses in a very, very simplistic way, it will tell you whether you're going to make a profit or loss. If you have to increase the sales, then what you go back to increase your marketing. If you have to decrease your costs, then you decide on your area of operation. So these tools of creating the business plan help you in making business decisions. And the business plan basically is for this process to fine tune it to more and more. Like we said, from the macro business plan, you come to micro business plan. And the more you fine tune it, then you are minimizing the risk. The risk, we are not going into risk analysis now, but the more in tune with your business you are, the less risk you will incur in terms of financial losses. So I think this sort of covers more or less all the topics, all the points about marketing that I wanted to say. I've tried to bring in the summary the logical thinking that you should take so that you can arrive at all these decisions and try to make it simple for you. As our chairman said earlier, these presentations will be available. We are now open to question and answers if you want to ask questions.
Thank you, Usha ma'am. I would like to open the forum for the questions. Are there any questions? I know there was a person who raised their hand, but I don't see that person's name. Can you please raise your hand and ask your question? You can unmute and then speak. Anybody can unmute. If you have any questions, please unmute and speak. Yeah, you can also type it in the chat box. Usha ma'am, we have one question.
Yeah.
My question is how we can, this is from registration number 99. My question is how can we formulate the sales? Like our plan is an idea which relates to the issues of people and we are focusing on it. So can we simple work on sales, or is it necessary to make 50 products and then put it on sales, put it up in sales?
Can you just repeat that question? I didn't quite get it.
My question is, how can we formulate the sales? Like our plan is an idea which relates to the issues of people, and we are focusing on it, or can we simple work on the sales, or is it necessary to make 50 products and then put it on sales?
No, no, you can start with one product, but if you have variations of the product, you are less vulnerable to the market risks. So you don't have to have a huge range of products before you start off. You can start with just a few products which you know are good, and then gradually add on products as you go along. Ensure that these products are what the market wants, whether it is people or service or manufactured products or whichever it is, the rule is the same. You just have to ensure that people are wanting. If it's a service that you're offering, do people want your service? And if so, what are the type they want? For example, if I want to talk about a service, even as simple as a plumbing service, everybody's taps go out. But you know that during the COVID time, people didn't want other plumbers walking into their house. So what did Urban Clap do? The company Urban Clap said, we will send you plumbers that who will be double vaccinated. They will stay 6 feet away from you. They will produce the vaccination certificate. We will guarantee you that they are safe and not carrying COVID germs. So they provided a service which was suitable to the customer. The customer has a tap leaking and he wants a plumber and he wants a service, but he doesn't want to be exposed. There are older people, there are people with comorbidities. They don't want plumbers stooping in carrying the infection. And so they found an alternative to open the service to all the people, which they said that, okay, we understand what is the customer's requirement during this period. And during this period, the service required was clean, healthy workers who would do the work neatly and go away. So they had workers with double vaccination who would wear the mask, come quickly do 6 feet. They will show the certificate to as proof, come and do it and then go away. So whether it's a service or a product, it has to eventually satisfy the customer need. So you can start with one product or two product and gradually add on. And slowly, that's how Urban Clap has done. They started with plumbers and then added carpenters, and then they had people, masons, and then they have now beauty treatment, people coming and doing beauty parlor in your house. So they have added on a variety of products. There are people who come and paint your walls. So you can add on products like that. So products or services or people, you can add on as you go along. If you have something which is good, get started. Sometimes too much thinking also, doesn't help you very much. If you know, your gut feeling also needs to play a part. Get your gut to play a part in deciding your plans. Talk to some mentors who will advise you and tell you what are the risks, that whether you have taken care of them or not. And if, as Mr. Vishwanath said, you can identify what your weaknesses are, try and plug in those weaknesses to minimize those weaknesses. Maybe you can't take care of all of them together. Build on your strength, minimize your weaknesses, understand your market and your price, understand your customer. Believe that the business that you're doing, you're here, whether it is a product or service, is to serve a customer. And when you're trying to please somebody and that person is pleased, definitely the business is going to do well. So go ahead.
I guess registration number 99 repasted the same question. Is there anything else that you wanted to be answered? If so, can you please unmute and speak so that our speaker can answer your question? Because I see the same question reposted.
Are there any more questions from the team? Please unmute and speak. Okay. No, sir, it was network issue. Okay. So if there are no more questions, then I would like to thank ma'am.
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you very
For a
much for giving
wonderful
this
slides.
opportunity. I wish all the students who are here today, all of them a great deal of success in your entrepreneurial journey, particularly in your business plan presentation. And keep this in mind, become an entrepreneur. It's always worth it to be a job creator than a job seeker. At some point of time in your life, be the job creators that you all can be. I wish you all luck in your business plan presentation. And FKCCI is here through Manthan to help you all in this process. Become very, very good entrepreneurs. Our country needs them. You need to be entrepreneurs to become the millionaires of the future. So all the very, very best to all of you. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about marketing and sales. Now I would request the chairman, Manthan chairman, Mr. Abhishek, to hand over a memento to Usha Nagraj.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Before I call upon the next speaker, I would like to highlight a couple of points. This is related to the exams. I would like to call for everyone's attention here. If any team has exams, please email the exam schedule to manthan@fkcci.in, or you can contact Daksha with exam schedules. Tentatively, the jury round 2 is from July 1 to July 13th. And tomorrow, the deep dive session will conclude. Request all the teams to be ready with their online presentation by June 30th. So this is note 1, which I wanted to highlight. I would also go to the next one, which I want to share. Each team will be given a specific time slot with the Zoom link where you have to present your BP online, that is business presentation online. For round 2 of online presentation, there are a few things you'll have to keep in mind. Ensure the entire team should be available for 10 minutes presentation. Ensure you have good internet connectivity. Ensure you have you are presenting via laptop or a desktop so that we can share your presentation effectively, or you can share your presentation effectively. Keep your presentation to 10 to 12 slides and is max to 10 to 12 minutes. After every presentation, we will have 2 to 3 minutes of Q&A with the jury team. So I would like to bring this to everyone's attention. This is also mentioned in the chat, so you can read through it as well. And then if you have any questions, let us know, particularly on your exam schedule. Okay. Now I would like to, any questions before I call upon the next speaker? Okay, now I would like to call upon Chinmaya Ananda. He will be sharing his session will be on the tips for preparing the business plan and how to pitch in the 2 minutes within the 2 minutes window. So over to you, Chinmaya Ananda.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would request the host to kindly pin my video because I'm not presenting from FKCCI seminar room. Pretty much I'll be presenting from this particular window, and everything that will appear on my screen. So kindly pin my video, and then to ensure that my audio and video is working, participants, could you quickly type in the chat box, yes, if the audio and video is clear. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, you don't have the name, you have your Manthan business plan number. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So let's get started. So in this session, this is what I have planned to give you tips around building a business plan. And then probably last 15 minutes I'll be spending with regards to how to go about pitching in 2 minutes. Now, business plan, 2 keywords, business and plan. Let's start with the second one, which is plan. I am sure at some stage in our life, we have planned something. Now, Abhishek was saying, for those of you who have got exams coming up, please keep us posted so that before we have the second round of jury thing going on, we would like to know. Now, let's say your exams is over, and after the final exam is over, I'm sure all of you, along with your friends, you will be catching up somewhere over a cup of coffee or just chit-chatting in the college. And somewhere someone will ask, what's the plan for this particular holiday? We have a semester break. What's the plan? And let's say someone says, hey, let's go on a holiday. Obviously, someone will ask where. Let's say someone will say to Mysore. Okay, great. So which means, let's say you decide upon saying, you know what, let's go from Namma Bengaluru to Mysore. Now, what you have come up at this stage is an idea to go on a holiday, on a vacation. Now, to go from here to there, from Bangalore to Mysore, you need to plan. Are you going to go for a 1-day trip, 2 days trip, 3 days trip? In the first place, how many of you would like to go? Will it be 5, 10? And then slowly you start working backwards. So shall we drive? Shall we hire a bus or a tempo traveler? Where shall we meet? And then you'll come up with a lot of things so that it will slowly take you from here to there, which means you will come up with a lot of strategies along the way. So you have an idea, you come up with a plan, and you make sure you have got n number of strategies. Where shall we meet before we start? Should we go with a travel agent? And then from here to first, let's say we go to Bidadi, and then we stop over in Bidadi or Ramnagar to have breakfast. So these are all the strategies, and accordingly you plan so that you end up going to Mysore. Now, I'm also sure most of the plan that we make will not go exactly as planned. So now the question is, do you have plan B and plan C? Let's say, unfortunately, on the day you're traveling, there is some kind of a political strike or a rally that is happening, and they've blocked the road in Mandya. What's your plan B? What's your plan C? If not, pretty much the whole trip is, it will be cancelled. Similarly, this is what we're expecting in your business plan. Don't just give us an idea. This is what we want. We want to ensure you have really thought through and you have come up with a plan. Yes, I can see a virtual hand, number 152. Oh, looks like that was an accident. Okay, now, by the way, if you have got any question, feel free to raise your virtual hand, or you can type it in the chat box. You don't have to wait till the end of the session. If I feel it's appropriate, I'll take the question right away. Now, this is all we are doing, whether in life or in business. I am here, I would like to go there. In the previous example, we are here in Bangalore, we would like to go there to Mysore. The question is how? This is where you come up with the plan and strategies. Now, most of you, you have got some kind of a business plan, and you are saying in the next 3 months, 6 months, we would like to go there where we are making so much sales or so much profit. What we would like to know is how? How can you really take the business idea that you have as of now? How can you take that idea and execute that idea and go to a stage where you're actually running and operating, preferably a profitable business? What is that one question that your parents are going to ask when you ask for money? So what is that one question they'll ask? If you ask for some kind of a money, what is that one question that they're going to ask? If you say, Appa, Amma, I want 50 rupees, 100 rupees, whatever it is, what is that one question that they're going to ask? Now, feel free to type it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
Why do you want it?
Exactly. The question starts with why. If you say, I want 10 rupees, why do you want it? You might say, oh, I want to buy chocolate. Okay, fine, 10 rupees, low risk. They might give it to you. Now, if you say, I want 50 rupees, they'll ask why. Because I want to again have chocolates. Then they'll say, no, you're having too many chocolates, so you may not get 50 rupees. You might say, oh, I want to buy a pen. Okay, fine, here it is. If you say, I want 100 rupees, again, why? Oh, I want to buy 2 pens. They're like, why do you want 2 pens? Oh, no, I will buy a book and a pen. Okay, fine, here is 100 rupees. Same thing with 500, 2000. Higher the amount you ask, more will be the questions. Yes or no? I'm sure you'll all say yes, you'll agree. But if you ask your parents saying that, you know what, I want 2000 rupees, and in that 2000 rupees, I will be buying 2 pens, 3 notebooks, and we have got a project coming up, so I have to print all this and kind of get it spiral binded, and all of this, all effort, everything put together will cost nearly 1000, 1200, 300, and travel, all that put together will be 2000 rupees. probably your parents might go, okay, you've really thought through what is that you're going to do with this money. All of you, you are writing or submitting the business plan, asking Manthan jury members to consider, to give points so that you might end up, hopefully, the business plan competition. And this morning, our president, I.S. Prasad said, now the prize money has increased to 26 lakhs. So which means you are expecting the prize money to be in lakhs. So obviously you will have to expect a lot of questions. Rather than we asking you questions on that day when you're pitching, what we would love to say is, can you answer those questions in that business plan? And at the same time, while we are pitching, so that to a great extent, we know what exactly you will be doing if we select your business plan. And if you are one of those business plans, will be a winner. Rather than giving you a lot of answers, what I have prepared in this particular session is I will be asking you to ask yourself these questions. Now, to start off with, here are three things, right? We have got three words: idea, plan, and strategy. Which one do you think is more important? How many of you think idea is more important than plan and strategy? If you think idea is important, please type in idea. If you think plan is important, more important than idea and strategy, please type in plan. And if you think strategy is more important than idea and plan, please type in strategy. Okay, someone is typing strategy, idea. Some of them is going 50-50. Well, it can't be 50-50. It has to be 33.33. Idea, strategy, plan. Okay, you know what? It's a debatable question. And I'm sure each one will be right from your own perspective. To play safe, idea, plan, strategy, all three are equally important. But what is even more important is, what is the problem you are trying to solve through your business? Well, if you're not comfortable with the word problem, now replace it with challenge. What is the challenge people have in the market? And through your business, through the product or service that you're offering, what is that challenge or what is the problem you are trying to solve? Most of the startups, they fail is simply because they are trying to offer a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Or they're trying to offer a solution to a problem and people are not really bothered about that particular problem. They don't really want the problem to be solved. They're fine with the problem many a times. So the very first thing that we would like to know in your business plan when you are pitching is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? And how big is this problem? And how desperately people want this problem to be solved? And how many people in the market want this problem to be solved? Is it only a small segment of people, or is it something people in every city, every state, probably in every continent they're experiencing? So the first thing we would like to know is, what is the problem? As Albert Einstein said, a well-defined problem is half the problem solved. So what is the problem that you're really trying to solve? Because many a times people jump to conclusion and they come up with solutions. I'm like, no, please tell me what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Then tell us, what is your solution? How simple is your solution? And one thing that we would love to say is, KISS. Keep it simple and specific. Don't run around the bush. Don't write stories. Don't write essays in your business plan. Keep it simple and specific, to the point. And keeping something simple is very difficult, because if you have to explain something in simple words, if you have to keep something simple, it is really hard, because you have to spent a lot of time. You need to give a lot of thought to make something simple. Now, reminds me of one of the presidents of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. When he was the president, he wrote a letter to his son. And at the end of the letter, his son was in college. At the end of the letter, he said, "Son, I'm so sorry I'm writing such a long letter. If I had time, I would have written a shorter one." To condense something, like I know all of you want to say so much, but we don't want to hear so much. We don't want to read so much. How can you condense and just give us that essence? That is what we would like to see. What's the problem? What's the solution? Who is your target market? Who is that customer? So when you are offering your product or service, who is that person who will reach out to his wallet or her purse or tap into their bank account and make the transaction by paying you? So who is that customer? Who is your real target market? What is your value proposition? The key word here is value. Now, let's say recently, now you wanted to, I don't know, buy a pen. And Usha ma'am was giving this example. Now you can buy a pen for 5 rupees. You can also buy a pen for 500 rupees. And also you can buy a pen for 50,000 rupees. The question is, what is the value the customer is trying to see in that particular 5 rupees or 500 rupees or 50,000 rupees pen? If someone is saying, hey, you know what, this pen is too expensive, it is very costly, the price of the pen is very high, indirectly they're saying, I don't see the value. Whenever someone says, or whenever you are saying, hey, you know what, this is very expensive, this coffee is very expensive, this place is very expensive, indirectly what you're trying to convey is, I don't see value in this. On the other hand, if you show your customers, or if you see a lot of value, price becomes a secondary. So when it comes to value proposition, what we would like to say is, what is that value that you are trying to offer to your ideal target market? Now let's take a step back. Most of us, after graduating, we are looking for our first job. And let's say you've got a job, you're working in that particular job for 2, 3, 4 years. Now you want to change your career, or you want to step up into a managerial role. Or some of you might say, decide to start your own business. Now, whether you're finding, you're trying to look for a first job, or your second or third job, or change in career, or you're trying to get your first client, you are actually approaching someone. And this someone can be your potential employer, could be your potential client. Let's keep it simple. Let us say they are sellers, these are buyers. Meanwhile, someone has typed in saying, sir, can you give an example? How would you explain an existing complex business in simple words? Well, in the last part of this particular session, I'll be giving you example of a few of the live examples. So I'll be answering that. If I miss it, please remind me. I'll make sure that I will answer it. Now, coming back to what I was sharing. Now, meanwhile, register number 45, I think you're sleeping and watching in your mobile. So kindly either turn off your video because it is very distracting. Thank you so much. Okay, coming back to what I was saying, we have sellers and we have buyers. What is that one thing every seller is trying to achieve from the buyer? Please type it in the chat box or feel free to unmute yourself. What is that one thing every seller is trying to achieve from the buyer? Yes, number 338. Feel free to unmute yourself. You've got your virtual hand up. Sales, yes, okay. You're trying to sell something. You're trying to sell your product or service or your experience or expertise. But there is one common thing that you expect when you sell something, and that is, pay me money, give me money, pay me for my service, pay me for the product that we are trying to sell. Yes, now first is they have to pay you, right? Once they make the payment, it becomes revenue, it becomes sales, and then hopefully you will run your operations in such a way that you end up making profit. So exactly 341, that's the no word I was looking for, money. You want your buyer to pay you money. Whether you're looking for your first job or change in career, or your client, you are saying that, you know what, give me money for the product or service or for the solution that I can bring onto the table. And what is that one question every buyer will be asking in their own head? They may not ask you directly on your face, but this is one question that they'll be asking in their head, and that is, why you and not someone else? Now, recently I had advertised for a sales specialist position. I'm hiring few sales specialists for my business, and people are sending me resumes after resumes. Now, out of a dozen resumes that I've received, I would like to choose and figure out which is that resume that will stand out. Why should I hire this person, he or she, over the other people? Why you and not someone else? So with the business plans that we have received so far, I think it was 600 or 700 in the first round, and now we are down to 212. In that 212, why should we choose your business plan and not someone else's? And for that, you have to explain in that business plan, show us in that business plan, the value proposition that you can offer to your customer. Do your customer really see that as a value? Now, again, Usha ma'am was giving an example of that lady in that apartment with the cylinder. Most of the people in that, or the women in that particular apartment, they're working people, which means during daytime, they couldn't go and collect the cylinder. Solution was there, but the solution had to be offered in a different way in the evening. Then suddenly people saw value. So this is what we would like to see. Have you, for that particular lady, she went out and did some research, search, research. This is what we would like you to do. Don't just give us an idea, do that basic research, go and get some feedback. And this is what we would like to know. If your customer, do they really have the pain point? Do they really have the problem? Do they really value the solution you're offering? Do they really see the value in what you're offering? And then how do you make money? What is that thing that you're going to sell? And again, keep it simple. Don't come up with complicated kind of stories and tell us this is what we will do. No, most of the time people are being very technical. Again, I think Vishwanath sir was talking about some particular product where one of them got the business plan. They were the winners of the business plan. And they showed the prototype saying, this is what we sell. This is how we make money by selling this. So how will you make money? What is that you're going to sell with the product or service that you're trying to offer? This is very critical. Is it really based on your skill set? Now, most of you, if you are from an engineering college, I'm sure all of you will have technical skills to a great extent. But business, it's not about just technical skills. You need to have marketing skills. You need to have sales skills. So do you have people in your team? Or do you have a reach of these experts who can help you out? Because you can't do everything by yourself. And some of the business plans got rejected simply because it was pretty much one-man show most of the time. And they couldn't back it up saying how everything could be run with them and probably people that they might be hiring in the near future. Next thing is, do you have resources? Do you have access to those resources to make that particular product or offer that particular solution? This is very critical. Is it really legal? There are certain things that may not be legal in different states. So have you really given it a thought? Have you checked with an expert? It might be an accountant or a lawyer. How will you scale? Many of the projects, our business plans got rejected because it was not a business plan as such, because they were just trying to pitch their college project. So which means you're doing this project, okay, great. What next after that? How are you going to scale this project and make it into a business? Well, they couldn't justify. How much time will it take for you to make that first rupee in sales? When will you make that first sale where that customer is going to give you money? Will it take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? If that is the case, how will you survive for that first 2, 3, 6 months? You'll be burning cash. We would like to know how much cash are you going to burn. Now, some businesses might take more time to break even. Some businesses might break even very soon. So we would like to know, depending on the industry that you would like to be in, what's the benchmark? I mean, we will know to a great extent some of the benchmarks in that particular manufacturing or service industry. But what we would like to know is how will you survive? How will you keep yourself afloat before making sales or getting your first rupee? This is another critical thing. How will you beat the competition? Again, the 12 resumes that was sent. Well, I shortlisted only those who kind of stood out. They had that kind of a USP. So in your case, in your business plan, what is that USP, unique selling proposition? What is something unique only in your particular product or service that most of the competitors don't have? What makes your product stand out? And again, these are all the questions that you should be asking yourself. Could you repeat about question 8? So question 8 is all about how do you scale? How can you make sure your business will be profitable? let's say you're offering now if you're selling one particular, okay, let's go back to the example Usha ma'am gave, where that particular lady was selling those cylinders or making cylinders accessible to all the other ladies in the apartment. Now, if there are only 50 flats, then it reaches very soon 50 people buying those 50 cylinders. How can she scale? The only way she can scale is by offering the same solution to other ladies in our different apartments. So can she do it? Probably no, she can't do it all by herself. She needs to have a team. She needs to have a process in place. So we'd like to know the scalability. How can you scale to the next extent? So I hope I've answered your question. So now quickly, let us take this example. Let us say you want to open a mobile coffee shop. And this is how, let's say, it looks with the coffee machine and all those things on the wheels. Can you quickly type in what are all the resources that are required to start this particular business? A simple idea, mobile coffee shop is something that you would like to start. Please type in the resources one by one. A place to start, yes, you need a vending machine, yes. What else? What are all the other resources that you need? You'll need all the ingredients like coffee powder, sugar, milk. You need proper lighting. Yes, you might also need electricity to run that particular machine. What else? A few more. It's only Sunil who's typing in at this stage. How many do we have? A coffee powder, we have 133 participants. Yes, you need coffee cups, you need the coffee powder, you need all those ingredients. Now, as we are slightly running out of time, let me share with you some of the things, some of the numbers along with it. Yeah, mainly you need customers and hopefully customers who will pay you. So let us say you do this projection. And this is exactly what you're doing in your business plan. You are projecting, you're forecasting what might happen with the business idea when you execute and how much sales you might achieve and how much will it cost. The first thing is you need to understand how much will it really cost you to make that cup of coffee. So you need to know the price of the coffee powder, milk, sugar, how much will be consumed, and let us say it is 10 rupees. I'm just making this up. This is not real numbers. Now, the next thing you would like to know is at what price will you be selling? This is the selling price. Let's say you sell it for 30 rupees. Now you need to figure out where to have this particular thing. You can't just park it in the road and start selling. So you need to find that ideal location. So let's say wherever in the shopping mall or whatever place you want to have this strategically positioned, they are going to charge you 20,000 a month. So this will be rent. Now, obviously you can't be there 24/7. So you might hire someone. So let's say you pay salary to one person, one helper, 15,000 rupees. Now the coffee machine equipment to have all that set up, let us say it will cost you 4 lakhs. Now you might have a small website, a simple thing on Google, everything you have. And to have it legal, to make sure it is legal, you can operate it, you need to register the business. So everything, let's say it will cost you 1 lakh. So these are all the forecast projections that you have made. Probably I'll give you a couple of minutes, even though calculating these numbers in form of profit and loss statement is something that I believe you will be learning tomorrow again. I think it must be Shravan, the chartered accountant, who will be explaining you more on this. But at this stage, let us say with the forecast that you have done, you are expecting to sell 5,000 cups of coffee. So this is what you're projecting, you're forecasting. We're expecting 5,000 cups of coffee that you'll be selling every month, of which 2,000 will come from corporate office. So let's say you're positioned in such a way that there is a corporate office and they will regularly come and buy those employees during their coffee, tea break, or during lunch break, they might buy coffee from you. So this is all the forecast that you have done. Now quickly, can someone calculate what will be the operating profit? Well, the accounting jargon is called EBITDA, but I don't want to get into this because I believe someone will be explaining more on this tomorrow. Okay. Someone quickly calculate. Kruti, participant called Kruti, can you please go on mute unless and until you want to answer this question or ask a question, or answer this question? Yes. So what will be the operating profit? Can someone quickly calculate? What do you think will be the operating profit? So what is that first number that you will try to calculate? Can someone type in what is that first number? Cost. Well, we know the cost, but what's the first thing? If you remember, there is something called a stop line. Revenue, exactly. So the first thing is sales or revenue. And how much is it? You're expecting 5,000 cups to be sold at 50 rupees. So this will be 2,50,000. Yes. The next thing is you would like to know the direct cost, direct expense, or it is also known as variable cost or cost of sales. Again, 5,000 cups of coffee. Oops, sorry, my bad. It's not 50 rupees. Sales was 5,000 cups into 30 rupees. So that would be 1,50,000. Next is cost, which will be direct cost to make 1 cup of coffee. So this is 5,000 into 10, that's 50,000. Sales minus direct cost will give us something called as gross profit. And this is one critical number we would like to know on your business plan, which is 1 lakh. Also known as GP margin. And then comes all the other expenses, which we call it as operating expenses or fixed expenses. So you had rent, you had salary. So this was, how much was it? 20,000 plus 15,000, that's 35,000. 1 lakh minus 35,000 is 65,000. So this is known as operating profit. Now, again, I don't want to get into all the technical jargon, what happens after this, but simple basic calculation. This is how you might have forecasted or projected at this particular stage. Now, my question is, now this is what you have planned. You have planned that you will start this coffee shop. You're planning and you're hoping that you will be able to make 5,000 cups of coffee as sales, and you're planning and hoping that this will be the cost with regards to rent, salary, and all the ingredients. Once you do the forecast, once you do this kind of a projection, I would like you to ask one question after each and every line item. What might go wrong? 5,000 cups of coffee. Do you think we can really sell 5,000 cups of coffee? What again, something like COVID happens, which already, there are rumors going around, the number of COVID cases is going up. And the corporate office says, okay, employees, from tomorrow, you're going to work from home. Boom, from 5,000, 2,000 cups of coffee is gone. Now you're down to 3,000. And probably people who might have visited that corporate, even 500 might be gone. So in that case, what's your plan B? What's your plan C? What happens if the cost of ingredients goes up? Again, petrol, diesel price goes up, and immediately all the grocery, all the ingredients thing, the prices of it will go up. In that case, what will you do? What will happen to your margin? So these are all things that we would really want you to think before you give us that particular business plan. Now, as we are badly running out of time, I'll quickly run you through these questions, different questions, and feel free to take a screenshot of the same. What is the revenue model, which we have touched upon? Who is your customer? When will you start selling? Now, to make that coffee shop and really operational, will it take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? So for that 1 to 3 months, how will you survive? Where will you get that money from? Because you're not able to, you can't sell without having that kind of an infrastructure. Any development activity. So yes, you need to develop all this many things. So how do you do that? Are machines or assets required? In this case, yes. So in your case, do you need to buy a machine or an asset? And for that, where will the money come from? Now, what is the cost of such kind of an asset? Now, when will you buy that machine? All this, I mean, is that machine available here in Bangalore, or do you have to import it or get it from a different state? What will be your ongoing fixed cost? Your electricity, rent, all the utility bills. Are there any one-off purchases? Probably initially you might have to pay your accountant and lawyer and things like that to set up a company. So these are all like one-off expenses initially you might have. And there might be are you purchasing any vehicle? I don't know, furnitures, computers, laptops. How much will that be? Other costs that you will have to consider, miscellaneous expenses. And at the same time, how will you go about marketing, promoting? Again, you can't do all by yourself. You might have 2, 3, 4 people as co-founders, but you might have to have more people in the team. So will you hire these people? When will you start hiring these people? And how will you go about hiring these people? Now, when will your business really starts making money so that you can see some sales coming in? And how much money is needed till you start making sales? How much cash do you need to burn? So these are all the questions that we would like you to ask yourself while preparing the business plan. Now, let me quickly again revise with regards to what we have discussed. This is something we would like to see. We expect you to estimate the cost with regards to the product or service that you're selling. And again, what exactly is the product or service you're selling at what price, or the forecast. Basic, no profit margins is something we would like to see. And then if at all you can come up with a cash flow projection, that will be great, because if you really have to forecast cash flow, then you really have to give it a very serious thought. This is like, again, going back to that example of Bangalore to Mysore. If you have got forecasted, you know what, from here to Bidadi, it will take us a half an hour. From Bidadi to Ramnagar, another 45 minutes. From there, again, Maddur, so on and so forth, it will take us so much time. And then if you can really do that projection, it simply means that you have given so much of thought, and you will automatically come up with plan B and plan C if something may not go according to plan. So here are all the key components of a business plan, which Vishwanath sir and Usha ma'am has already touched upon. You can use this as a reference, these headings, and then populate the content accordingly. Again, we don't expect you to write essays. Don't spend so much of time making it colorful, beautiful. Yes, it has to be presentable, but remember, less is more. Less is more, which means we expect you to keep it simple, starting from what is your big vision, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and who are the people behind this who can really execute. Tell us something about your product. Tell us, how are you going to promote? How can you reach your ideal target market? Will it be online marketing? Will it be offline marketing? Will it be a mix of both? How much will it cost? Who else is directly and indirectly competing with what product or service that you're offering? Something about your ongoing operations. And of course, whatever you do in business, it will directly or indirectly impact the bottom line. So we'd like to know those financial numbers. Funding request, well, if you want to mention, you can go ahead. It's not a must as such, but if you do, then of course, it will make us understand that you have really given it a thought. It's like asking that 2,000 rupees from your parents, and you tell them very clearly where each and every rupee will be spent. If you can do that, then it automatically conveys to us that you have really given it a serious thought, and you're really serious about this particular business plan. Because we don't want the winner to just win the cash money and do nothing with that money. We want you to execute. You want you to do something with that business idea that you have come up with, and hopefully scale and then take it to the next stage. So these are all the main components that we expect in the business plan. Now, quickly wanted to check, is it okay if I stretch by another 5 more minutes? Can someone from FKCCI?
So this is, yes, sure, sir. You can go extend 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now let us go with the pitch. This is something I mentioned last time when I was in VTU. But again, one particular sentence, then have spent like almost 1 year preparing this particular statement, brainstorming with all my mentors. And I really want each one of you to complete this statement, and then keep on revising this every single day before you actually submit the business plan. The first sentence is, this is you asking yourself, if our client or customer gives us rupees dash. So for the product or service that you're selling, what is the selling price? Are you selling something for 50 rupees or 100 rupees or 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees? We or I will give them dash within dash time. Will you give it immediately within few minutes or few hours or few days? This is the simple sentence, and it has got keywords. Let us start with the first keyword, which is client or customer. Who is your customer? Who is that person who's going to give you that money? Are you in B2B or B2C? Do you directly sell it to a customer, or do you sell it to another business? Or is it B2G? Do you have even government as your customer? So who is that person? And if you say B2C, again, do you know their avatar, which means are they male, are they female? What is their age bracket? And as Vishwanath sir was saying, don't say that, you know what, we will sell it for everybody. I'm sorry, I don't have the name called everybody on my phone. So you will have to clearly say, you know what, my ideal target market is probably young parents in the age group of 28 to 34 or 35. And no, if you're being more specific, then immediately I can connect. So who is your ideal target market? And if they give us rupees dash, what we would like to know is, what is your selling point? Like what we went through in that coffee example, at what price you're selling, what is it really costing you? What's your gross profit margin? So we'd like to know those margins. We or I. So do you really have a team? The difference is, are you running a practice or are you running a business? Most of the business plans got rejected in the very first round is simply because they didn't really submit a business plan. They were submitting a project plan, a college project that they were working on, and they thought this will be a plan and they submitted. So if it's a hobby, if it's a project, I'm sorry, I think by now we would have filtered most of it. Again, in the next stage, if it sounds like a project, then I'm sure that it will get rejected. So are you running a practice or a business? The simple difference between practice and business is, practice is person dependent. Business is process dependent. Accountants practice, lawyers practice, consultants practice. Now in my business, professional speaking, I practice. It comes under that category because if I stop, revenue stops. So are you running a business where if you stop working, revenue stops? Or are you building a business where it has got process in place, or it will have process in place so that we know it will be scalable? Now, I cannot be everywhere. I can only present at this particular moment here. If at all I have to present at this particular time somewhere else, I have to say no, because it's a practice, it revolves around me. So similarly, the business plan you're submitting, is it really a business plan? And the next keyword is what exactly you're selling. Either you'll make money by selling a product or service. As simple as that. Either you're selling a product or service, or both product or service. The question that I would like you to ask yourself is, why you? Why should someone buy your product or service and not from your direct or indirect competitors? And finally, how is that you're going to deliver your product or service? This is where all the efficiency will come into picture. Again, Usha ma'am was giving that example of that cylinder. So initially she thought she can do it during daytime, and later on she realized, no, it is in the evening that she has to do it. So similarly, how can you be more efficient with regards to how you're going to offer your product or service? Will you be selling your product or service in the evenings, in weekends, or is it during office hours? It all depends on the target market. So we need to see that clarity. By answering this one simple statement, a lot of things will be addressed, and for that, you need that clarity. Now, quickly, I would like to show you this real-life example. Someone was asking me, can you show something that is very simple? Who do you think this gentleman is? Quickly type it in the chat box. Meanwhile, let me quickly go through some of the questions that has been sent. Well, Bill, sounds like it's your friend. That's Mr. Bill Gates. And this was Mr. Bill Gates in 2000 launching something called as a tablet. And in 2002, he posted another one saying, hey, this is a new tablet and it is with colors. It's no more black and white. It's cool. And that is what you can see. Tablet PC is super cool. This was in 2002. After 8 years, this genius, Mr. Steve Jobs, after 8 years in 2010, he launched something called as an iPad. After 10 years, pretty much that's very similar to whatever a tablet does, in fact, even better. But this became a huge success. In spite of the fact they were solving the same problem. But the way they offered the solution made the huge difference, because iPad, anybody could use it. In fact, the tablet PC, even engineers couldn't figure out how to use that, because they had so much of complex technology in it, and people were like, what am I going to do with this? It's like, I'm sure all of you at your home, you have that one big remote control, and there are like 50, 60 small keys on it. Tell me, out of those 50, 60 keys, how many keys do you really use? But have you seen an Apple remote? It has got only 6 or 8 keys, that's it. Something complex versus something very simple. This is something very simple. So the solution that you're offering, well, people might have the problem, great. But are you offering a solution that is simple? And Steve Jobs said, Simple can be really hard than complex, because keeping something simple is really, really difficult. But if you can make it simple, if you can offer your solution that is simple, then oh boy, once you reach there, you can move mountains. I would highly recommend all of you to go on YouTube after this session and type for Steve Jobs when he was launching each and every Apple product. I'm not sure if you have watched Steve Jobs launching iPod. Remember that small device where you could store songs, iPod? He just walked up on stage wearing his blue jeans, black shirt, and then he took that iPod from his back pocket. How would you like to have 1,000 songs in your back pocket? Boom. That's a pitch. That is what keeping simple is all about. When he launched that iMac, that laptop so thin, he brought an envelope. And from that envelope, he slided the laptop and said, this is the new iMac. It answered the question. He didn't say, here is iMac, the thickness of it is so much, the dimension is so much, it is so thin. He didn't say anything. He just took it out. He showed us this is what it does. That is what we would like to see in that particular pitch. And if you want more tips with regards to the pitch deck, what needs to go on the pitch deck, and if you want to go through the pitch decks of Uber and Airbnb and all the successful startups, then let me share this particular link, which you can easily go to that particular page and get some kind of information with regards to how you should be preparing your pitch deck. Then at the same time, I would like you to watch a video by this guy called Guy Kawasaki, who is a serial entrepreneur and at the same time investor. And he has given his version of the only 10 slides you need in a pitch deck. So I think you've got less than 10 or 12 minutes to pitch to us on that particular day. And we don't want to see 50, 60 slides. It has to be max to max 10 or 12 slides. Don't go beyond that. You can definitely explain or express whatever you want to offer, pitch to us in that particular thing. As I said, keep it simple and specific. And for that, you need to spend a lot of time making sure that you have gone through it again and again and again. And you don't give us this, you condense it and just give us what is that essence. So pretty much this is what I wanted to share. I've already overshot by 10 minutes. I'm not sure if you have got time for a few questions. Meanwhile, someone has typed in how to calculate EBITDA in case of service. So in a service industry, again, one thing that you'll have to ask yourself is, a person has asked that question, 371. Can you be more specific when you say service, what exactly you're talking about with service? Meanwhile, others, now if you have got any question, feel free to unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat box.
Sir, I would like to bring to one question here. The registration number is 341. I'll read out the question. So let's suppose I'm planning to launch a company like Amazon, where various sellers and service providers can offer their products and services. Then how am I supposed to do the projections, since my sales completely depends on the listed vendors?
Okay. So all you're trying to say is, you know what, you want to create a platform where you will bring in sellers and you bring in buyers. Now, for you to prepare this platform, first you need to know how much money you're going to spend building this. And it's not that you build and they will come. As you're building this, you need to make sure you get all the sellers on board. And when you go and approach a seller, what do you think the first question a seller will ask? Why should I sell something on your platform and not Amazon? Now ask yourself this simple question. Once you graduate, probably you want to float your resume on different job sites. There is Naukri, there is Job One, there is LinkedIn, so on and so forth. If someone is starting a new platform where they want to bring people looking for a job and people are looking for people to employ, you will definitely ask yourself, why should I go here selling? Now you have to tell them, hey, you know what? We have got, 1,000x people who are already on a platform who are ready to buy. Now, are these buyers who would like to buy whatever these people are selling? Ask those questions. Now, finally, let's say you somehow convince them. Now the seller will ask, okay, if I'm selling my, if my selling price is 100 rupees, at what price can I sell on your platform? And if you say, no, you can sell only in 80 rupees, then he will be like, okay, with that minus 20 rupees, how can I survive? In the first place, you have to ask yourself again, can you really get someone to sell for less price and at the same time make sure that they're okay to sell on your platform? So to answer your question, how do you go about sales projection? Well, this is where you have to do your market research, search, research, search, research. Now, Amazon, today it's very difficult to say what business they are in. You can't call them anymore an e-commerce business. They're everywhere. I'm not sure if you have watched one of those interviews, or I think I read it somewhere in one of the books, when Jeff Bezos decided that he wanted to start Amazon. He was working in this particular, I don't know, analytical company, and he saw that number of internet users was increasing by 200% year on year. And then he went, you know what, there's so many people who are on this particular internet platform, so I think I can sell something here. And then he wrote down 20 things he wanted to sell, and he narrowed down on books. So he started with books, and then he went about adding more and more. So similarly, be focused on one thing, succeed in that, and then go about increasing. So again, to answer your question, if you want to do sales projection, who are those people? Who are those sellers who would like to sell on your platform? You have to come up with that number. And again, you can't just come up with a number saying that I will have 1,000 sellers on my platform, and each seller on an average will be selling 1,000 rupees worth of products. We would like to know, can you really make them sell? So these are all the things. In fact, what you have just mentioned might be very simple, but if you really have to execute it, it's a very big project. It's going to be a very big business. And in the first place, you may not make any money out of it. You have to spend a lot of money, you have to burn a lot of cash. Okay. Someone has typed in app like Practo, how to calculate. So I'm not sure if you're saying how to calculate what. Just the same.
Data. So this is Pranam here, sir. So registration number 371. He's asked about eBeta, and then he's asking about the Practo. So I think he's linking it to the services like Practo.
Okay, so in Practo, even though I don't know much about their P&L, haven't gone through it. So obviously they will have sales in form of money that they'll be receiving from charging the patients. So let's say patients have paid them 10 lakhs in that particular month. Now, in this 10 lakhs, there is direct expense. The first direct expenses, they will have to pay the doctors, right? Because again, this is what Practo is doing. They've created a platform. The person who is selling their service are doctors, and people who are the people who will be taking appointment with doctor. It will be patients. So that is what Practo is doing. Now, let's say they have billed overall 10 lakhs. Now, first thing is they have to pay the doctors. So doctors might charge all put together, it's like 8 lakhs. Now, is there any direct expense that goes with it? Which means if this 10 lakhs becomes 12 lakhs, obviously I have to pay more money to doctor. Similarly, are there any direct expense? They might have, it might be the booking fees. The more booking people do online or pay online, then more will be the booking fee. So in this case, let us say it is 50,000. So in gross profit will be 10 minus 8.5, that's 1,50,000. Now Practo will have a lot of operational expenses. They have to maintain the website, they have to pay their IT staff, they have to make sure rent, whatever. Looking at Practo, definitely it's not a monthly operating expense of 1.5 lakhs. It might be, I don't know, I'm just making it up, it might be 5 lakhs. So which means they're not making the operating profit in positive number. It will be negative 3,50,000. So this will be in red. So now the question is, where will they get the 3,50,000, which means they have to burn the cash. This is called as cash burn. So how can they survive? How can they make sure this 10 lakhs becomes 20 or 30 lakhs 6 months from now so that they can cover this particular cost? I don't know. So these are the questions. So when you start making that first rupee, it's not that you will make profit immediately. It might take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. That is what Usha ma'am was saying, depending on the industry that you are in. The break-even period drastically varies. But are you at least aware of it? I hope I've answered that question.
So we have a question from the 631 registration.
Mhm.
I'll just read out the question. So what if I have started sales of my products and I do have repeated customers also? Is there anything specific I will have to mention in the business plan? Please guide me. Should I show monthly sales projection?
See, if at all if you are selling your product or service, which people will be using again and again, which means if you're going to have recurring customers, from an investor's perspective, we love it. We love to see businesses that has got recurring customers, because we know how costly, expensive it is to get your first customer, and retaining them is another big challenge. So if you have got recurring customers, then obviously you will know how much they might be spending. Will they buy your product every month, or will they buy once every 3 months? Now, for example, let us say it's like they call it as a toothbrush test. So how many times in a day do you use toothpaste? Twice a day. And how many times do you replace the toothbrush? It might be once a month or once in 3 months. Now, some of you might only buy toothpaste from Colgate, or some of them might buy toothpaste from Pepsodent, I don't know, whatever brand. Some of you might be loyal to a brand. Some of them are like, you know what, anything within 50 rupees I will buy. So similarly, the product or service that you're offering, is it something your customer will buy only from you? If they have to buy only from you, why is that they have to buy only from you? Again, what is that value proposition? And how often will they buy? Is it once a week, once a month? And depending on that, you can forecast with regards to sales.
There were few questions who had asked for the slides on the questions that you had mentioned, you had shared earlier, the last 2 slides. So if you could share that one more time, I think it will be helpful for the team.
Questions, is it? I believe you were asking this one. No, this one.
Any more questions, team?
Yep. So I'll go off camera. You can take a screenshot for those of you who would like to make a note of all these questions.
So teams don't have to worry about these slides. We'll have the speakers share these slides with the office, and the office is going to email each of these presentations to all the 212 teams. So not to worry. We'll also see if we can share this recording online to all the teams, but definitely at a minimum, the presentations will be shared with all the teams. Are there any more questions for Chinmay? Chinmay, a very fabulous job. Thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you for having me, Abhishek.
So if there are no more questions, we will end day 1. Before we end day 1, I mean, since Chinmay is not here physically, we had an energy box to be shared with you. So when we meet next, Chinmay, don't forget to collect your energy box from FKCCI.
Sure, definitely.
I would like to thank all the teams who have attended the session. A few teams did send that they could not attend because of their exams today and tomorrow, but majority have attended. I would like all of you to please be ready online tomorrow morning again at 10:30. We will be having 3 different speakers tomorrow, and we will be having an elaborate question and answer session also tomorrow. So tomorrow's session is required by all teams. It's not the same topics that are being covered tomorrow. They're complete different set of topics, which will help you with your presentation and the business plan for round 2. So I would request all the teams to attend tomorrow's session starting at 10:30, and it will go on again till 1:30. I see that when we started, we had 178, 180 teams. Right now, we have only about 100 teams. I would request all the teams, this is for all of you. This is for you. This is not for us. We are doing it so that all of you can benefit. So request all of you to stay till the end and take benefit of tomorrow's session as well. Thank you all the teams. I would like to thank the president for initiating this wonderful program across South India, the jury team, the workshop teams, as well as the outreach teams. Thank you everybody for organizing each of these different working moving parts of Manthan 2022. Also, I would like to thank Thai Bangalore as well, Lakshmi and the entire team. I would like to thank Kedem, Kartikitu and the entire team for all their support till date and request their support going forward until the grand finale. If there are no more questions, I think we can wind up today's session. Thank you one and all.